Well, good evening, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order in open session. Welcome to this evening's hybrid Board of Trustees meeting, being held both in person as well as virtually. This meeting has been made accessible to members of the public on the link at the Moreland School District website, as well as on board docs. Any person who requires accommodations to access the meeting has been asked to contact the superintendent's office within 24 hours of this meeting. This meeting is being recorded and may be published online at a later date. And with that, I am very excited to welcome up some Moreland Middle Mustangs to the podium to lead us in tonight's flag salute. Come on up. Got to tell us what to do from the start.
Please rise to join. Right hand over your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Oh, you can't. We can, but you can't. Thank you so much for coming tonight. You all look fabulous, and I look forward to hearing about all of your activities. Could we please start with introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about the medical detectives that you are? Oh, sure. Yes, please.
I would love to start. Dr. Mosley.
Wonderful. And tell us a little bit about what is medical detectives? Mm.
Doctor. Yeah. Like the school, except we don't.
Best part.
What about? It's huge economics around the zoo.
Oh,
Very cool.
Okay.
Very good.
Did you have anything you want to add?
Get office get to do.
yeah.
Fabulous.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, is there anything interesting that you learned while you were doing this? Something that you didn't know and now you know?
I can't remember. Like non-reusable thermometers.
Mm.
So when I saw them, I didn't understand them very well. And then I was like, whoa, this thing is awesome. So we got to use those and I thought that was really cool.
Very good. Thank you.
Was there a specific reason you guys wanted to take this class, except maybe the obvious that you guys maybe possibly want to be doctors in the future, but any other reasons why you found this class, or is this a class that you wanted to take?
You are just a post and something we just went to check your post on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really like the teacher.
Yeah.
I like learning about medical stuff and then really stuff because dissect one's brain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very excited about that, I hear.
Any specific reasons for you guys?
It sounded interesting.
Yeah, just not anything. Yeah. Yeah. I would too. Brian?
No, I do think the more we talk about lampreys, the more I think that we are creating serial killers. So slight concerns about where this is heading. But no, I actually wanted to remind you, I don't have a question. I say this to all the students that come through, which is that, we really appreciate that you come and spend some time and put a face on the work that we do related to having students, because every decision that we're going to make, and the things we're going to talk about at Moreland Middle School this evening, we want to have the pictures of you as students in mind when we're having those conversations. And so it might sound kind of trivial that you come here and present for a couple minutes and you go home, but understand that you leave a lasting legacy after you leave this building, where we're reminded tonight that the students that we're talking about are real students trying to learn real things to be prepared for high school, college, and beyond. And so thank you. Thank you for being good ambassadors. Thank you for coming and sharing some time with us. And most importantly, thank you for kind of bringing a growth mindset into your learning environment to want to learn more, because that's infectious. The more you guys want to work together, the more other people will learn around you. So thank you. I don't have any tough questions.
What I would like to say is, I myself have a job outside of this. I'm a physical therapist. I do work with a lot of doctors and surgeons and practitioners of all sorts. And I see some of them who've been doing it for years. And I see some that almost look as young as you. I mean, there are some very smart people out there. And I always wonder to myself sometimes, like their origin story, where it can start as simply as this interest, this desire to kind of know more, learn more. So keep that, because this is the origin story for you guys. If in the future you decide to want to be a doctor or a surgeon or anything else, it all starts from that spark or that interest from a good teacher or some other form of wanting to help other people. And this is how I ended up in my medical field. And I hope you guys continue to find that. And even if you don't like it, and you find out that you don't like working with blood or other things, there's so many areas that you'll be able to kind of find yourself to that kind of tailors to what you like. And so I appreciate your guys' interests. I hope it sparks new interests as you go forward. And when you start looking for referrals, you can always give me a call. Thank you.
Dr. Cod.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank your families for being here. Thank you, Ms. Tamesia Pierce, your teacher, for getting this class up and going. I think it is such an inspiration to hear from you about what is exciting about this class and to see you in your white coats, real doctors on your way. It's just very, really brings a lot of joy to me just to be able to be here with you tonight. And I'm very proud of you. And I'm proud of MMS for being able to bring this course to our students. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Nicely done. Thank you so much. You did a good job tonight. With that, you're welcome to head home.
I was just gonna ask Maureen if you got their pictures because they look so nice.
Oh, there she's already on it.
She's on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gives me so much hope.
Right? Right? Very inspiring.
Very inspiring, amazing kids. I will report out that no action was taken this evening in closed session and move to tonight's agenda. I would like to ask the board if you wouldn't mind, and also Chris, out of respect for Moreland Middle staff time, that we swap the unaudited actuals 6B with MMS's SIPSA 7A in terms of sequence.
Yeah.
Is-
No
Problem.
problem.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
And I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Comments from the public? Shriram.
Okay. Members of the public may address the board on any subject of concern to you, including those not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act preclude any action as an unagendized item. No response is required or permitted from the board or district staff. And as already stated, no action can be taken. The board, however, may instruct the superintendent to follow up, which may or may not include placing the item on a future meeting's agenda. If you would like to address the board this evening, please complete the blue public comment card within the first 15 minutes of the board meeting being called to order in public session. On the card, please list the agenda items you would like to speak to. If your comments do not pertain to an agendized item, please write public comment. When your name is called, please come to the podium and state your name and the organization that you're representing. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per board governance manual. And we have one blue card today from Adam Paulus.
Yeah.
I hope I said your last name correctly. All right, excellent.
My name is Adam Holmes, and I'm the parent of a 5-year-old autistic child named Elliot. Elliot's IEP clearly includes special education transportation, both to and from school. This year, the district unilaterally cut those services without our consent. What they put in place failed to meet his needs and put his safety at risk. Last year, the district used Everdriven for both morning and afternoon transport, and it worked without issue. This year, afternoon service was cut when a general education bus became available, even though my son's needs have not changed. In just the first 3 weeks of school, there have already been 2 serious safety incidents. One day, my son Elliot was dropped off at the wrong house. Just 1 week later, he was left alone in the middle of the street, with no adult ensuring that he reached our door. He is 5 years old, autistic, left alone in the street. We have a very busy street with lots of through traffic and blind corners, and if a car had been coming through that day, this might not be a complaint you're hearing. This might have been a tragedy. So we convened an IEP meeting to address the violation and try to collaboratively work through this. At that meeting, the director of special education flatly told us we are not changing the transportation plan. She made no effort to resolve the issue, even after we cited the law. And this was after those 2 serious safety violations in the first 3 weeks. Her response was dismissive, trying to shut down our discussion rather than addressing those safety failures, when what was needed was urgency and action to help keep my son safe. So on Monday, we filed a formal compliance complaint with the California Department of Education. Dr. Cobb was CC'd directly. The decision to reduce services was made by Fran English, your special education director. With her decades of experience, she knew this was a violation. Less than a month ago, this room, you approved $200,000 budget for Detroit and Everdriven transportation. You made the right decision then. But it's only a right decision if the district staff actually follow your guidance, so Elliot can come home safe every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
Okay, superintendent's report, Dr. Cod.
Okay, are we ready? Right, next slide. So we want to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. That starts on September 15th and runs until October 15th. We want to take this opportunity to celebrate the achievements and the rich diversity of our community here in San Jose and highlight the voices of Hispanic and Latino community members and leaders. Next slide. Last night was our first Moreland Education Foundation meeting. We are excited for all things planned, including the pumpkin patch. There will be an opening night on October 10th, which will include the new short film festival for our middle school students are able to submit their short films for that evening. And then we had a room full of volunteers, and I believe every school was represented with a site representation, right? And it's been a long time since we've had that. So I was really excited. Also had a great First President's Council meeting last week. Again, a room full of volunteers. There's a picture of us there. We noticed that many of our homeschool clubs, they're kind of doubling up. They've got
Mhm.
co-presidents, co-vice presidents, co-secretaries. So they're really sharing in the work and building out their volunteer rosters. They are focused on building connections and fundraising and just making sure that they are ready to support the students that we serve this year. But well, I'll talk about it a little bit later. Just this feeling of really needing some more connectedness
Mhm.
really came through
Mhm.
in the President's Council. Next slide. So I am very excited. You might be talking about this later. If not, I am. So first ever Family Fun Fest at Moreland Middle School this Friday. Latimer also has their Harvest Hop on the same night. There will be DJ, food trucks, games, prizes, all kinds of fun things. Starts at 5 p.m. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to invite the whole community, but I'll be going. So it says community event, so it's a community event. All right, next slide, please. So Moreland is in the news once again. So we have the San Jose Spotlight article about the West Valley Community Services Partnership and the expansion of Latimer. And there is, I believe that is a photo of the Latimer site where we've expanded. So that is our third site now for our Park at Market. And our first mention in the media of the school year. There'll be more to come, I'm sure. Next slide. This week, our teacher leaders are coming together to write the new informational writing units for each grade level, grades K through 8. Upper grade teachers are building off of the social studies and science content from our adopted curriculum, and our K through 2 students will be writing about topics of personal expertise. These units support students' writing skills, but they also reinforce the nonfiction reading comprehension that is required of our students, and that reading and writing connection go hand in hand. And that is a picture from today, actually, in this room. Next slide. MMS is the lucky winner. They are the first up to be our SIPSA presenters. That will be followed by Payne and Latimer on September 23rd, Country Lane and EDS on October 14th, Baker and Anderson on October 28th. And just, I've been telling parents, it's a really great way to learn about your school, what the plans are for the upcoming year, what your strategies are to improve student achievement at your school. And Heather and I, these are our favorite presentations of the year. We're not quite sure anyone shares that moment with us, but we are really excited to hear what MMS has to present tonight. And then you'll also hear from us about the opening of schools report from the cabinet level. And I believe that concludes my remarks for this portion of the agenda.
Thank you. Board members, communications.
Knowing that we have a pretty long evening ahead of us, I'll keep mine short. Baker, back to school night, very good, exciting, full of energy. The end.
Oh,
I also had the privilege of attending Baker, EDS Middle School, and then also MMS. It was great to see, the buzz of excitement, siblings like sharing off their classrooms to parents and to each other, briefly sharing how their classroom works with parents. It was great. Also very good. Double thumbs up.
Nothing for me.
And I'll just follow up with that, back to school night for Payne was amazing. Good to see the energy. They brought everyone together into the main quad area. They have great staff there. Got to meet a lot of the new teachers, got into some of the classrooms. They have an amazing home and school club, representative presidents, and I think they're up for a good year. So it was really exciting to see all the anxious parents and the new parents, their questions, and just seeing what the culture that they're building there. So that was a lot of fun.
for me, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I feel like I've been hanging out with Dr. Cott a lot. So I just wanted to comment generally about back to school nights, because I think for each of the school sites that I visited, they were all really well attended. They were all really positive and had enthusiastic staff and parents. There was a clear commitment to creating partnerships with parents. I saw that time and time again in and out of classrooms. And on a personal note, I was very happy to hear, actually in several places on different campuses, reference to our wellness policy. I know that it's been a path, but I really appreciate the commitment and the work that goes behind supporting our wellness policy. With regard to pain, I just wanted to call out their consistency as we went from classroom to classroom. They had obviously made a really big effort school-wide to have a consistent message. I saw that in multiple places. And I really enjoyed hearing more about their homework efforts, their changes in how they're approaching homework. So I'm excited to learn about that over time. I was able to attend the EDS K1 and 2-3 back to school nights. Their two positive energy, really terrific turnout. I know that having it over, I think, 4 nights for EDS is a real effort, a lot of extra work, but I actually noted how much, how intimate and more personal it felt being there for the 2 different back to school nights in the one evening. I also got a unique opportunity. I know many of our school sites do this where they administration covers the kiddos while parents are in the classrooms. And that is a Herculean task. So we got to see a little bit in that in action, both Tanya, why am I calling you Tanya?
Right initial sound.
We had great support from your team, rallying kids and keeping track of them. And so that too is an extra effort to make back to school nights more meaningful for parents so they can really focus. And so I want to thank our teams for doing that. President's Council, I was going to notice, full house, a really full round table. I also really appreciated all of the co-work that they're doing. And I also heard several references from different sites to the climate survey. And so I was kind of excited that our school sites are engaging with the parent leaders and everyone's working together to accomplish goals that are identified from the climate survey. And then MMS, back to school night. Boy, do you get your steps in when you attend that back to school night. I do really, again, I'm just calling out kind of the unique things that I noticed. Really appreciate the effort for Avid in all of your classrooms. I went from classroom to classroom to classroom, as did you and everyone else, and really appreciate the work towards binders, organization, using a planner, and how that's all going to be modeled and students will be supported in kind of learning how to manage their time and their priorities. And so I just wanted to applaud that. I know that too is a big task. Again, consistent messaging and the signage all over the campus, really reminding our kiddos what's important and how to, be good citizens and safe. And then MEF last night. So MEF, there too, a full room, which I really appreciate. That's not easy to do on a Monday evening. They talked about their budget. They talked about the fall fund drive, which is kicking off here shortly. Pumpkin patch, of course. And I think grants will be coming up soon. Music in Moreland, they've got concerts coming up. And so I also thought I should give Debbie a shout out because we had a lot of dates, both in MEF and at President's Council thrown out. There's lots of activities, fall festivals and all that stuff coming on the horizon. So keep an eye out in the Friday report for those. And thank you for coordinating and keeping us looped in on that. And I think that's it for me. All right. So MCSCA, or are we?
I don't think that
Okay. Opening of schools report.
Okay, that's us.
That's you.
You ready, Ulysses? Almost. So the district office staff have been working really hard to get ready for the start of school. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that happens, some of which you'll hear tonight. This report also is a look forward into the 25-26 school year, so that in a way, it's sort of the district SIPSA. Here are our plans for what we're working on this year. I do like to ground ourselves in Moreland 2030, our strategic plan. This is our North Star. Next slide. Our vision and our mission are our promise to our families, our students, our staff, our entire community, really, about what we believe and why we do what it is that we do each day. Next slide. So we operationalize this promise through these 5 goals. These are big, these are bold, and they're not very actionable in this way, but the LCAP is the way that we as districts operationalize our strategic plan. That is our accountability document. It outlines each one of our strategies and our intended outcomes and our targets for each year. And so that is important for the community to know. This is what guides our work. It guides our work plans in all of our departments. And then we hold ourselves accountable through the LCAP. Next slide. So last year, we talked to you a little bit about the opportunity myth, using this as a frame from the research out of the New Teachers Project, the TNTP. And we looked at these 4 key resources where research is saying these are the most important things that need to be present in our schools in order for students to have the opportunity to learn, opportunity to have access. And so we really think about this as our equity agenda. And this was last year's frame and last year's work. Next slide. So fast forward to this year, TNTP has put out a new study. And this one's called the Opportunity Makers. And this is really the New Teacher Project. They studied schools all across the country. And they found that there are these outlier schools where they consistently receive excellent results for students. And I'll talk just about that in a minute. But in these schools, there are 3 consistent pillar practices that were present in the schools that they studied. So there's belonging, which is really about students being known by their name, their strength, and their need, not just social emotional well-being, but also their academics and where students are. These schools had consistent instruction at grade level content, tasks, assignments for all students, regardless of where the students were in terms of performing at, below, or above grade level. And then coherence. So there was coherence behind what was happening in the classroom, which sometimes we call tier 1 or core instruction, what was happening outside in intervention, that there was clear alignment between what was happening between classroom and also few priorities, but going deep. So having principals kind of clear the air so that we're not working on all things, but we're working on a few things and doing them really well. Next slide. So the study looked at 28,000 schools, which is the data set that they started with. And out of those 28,000 schools, they found 1,300, which is only 5% that they considered outlier schools. So 5% of schools, K-8 across the country, making a difference for kids. So then they took out of that 1,300 and they studied 7 in depth. And those 7 schools are listed along with their demographics. Next slide. So what makes these schools outlier schools or trajectory changing schools? These schools made 1.3 years worth of growth in 1 year for each year of learning. So over a 3-year period of time, students were able, who were maybe 1 full grade level behind, were able to be at grade level by the end of that 3rd year. So imagine a 3rd grader who was 1 full grade level behind in these schools. By the time they entered into 6th grade, were on grade level. And so again, only 5% of the schools, trajectory changing. Next slide. Potentially making these sort of life-changing shifts for our students. And so this is the frame that we're using for this year with our leadership team and our site leaders. And as a result of what we've been studying last year, what we were studying this year, there's a few key shifts that I just want to bring to your attention before we turn it over to each of the other assistant superintendents. So next slide. So one of the shifts, so coming off the pandemic, it is no secret, we spent a lot of time building school climate and culture, putting in place wellness programs for our students, lots of support for student behavior, student social emotional well-being, as well as our staff. That has been our focus as we came off the pandemic. And this year, we're not going to stop doing that. Of course, we're going to continue to do that. We're going to shift our focus a little bit when we are working with our principals and assistant principals, and we're implementing a district-wide strategy called instructional rounds. And instructional rounds are kind of taken from that medical field, but we as principals and assistant principals will be in each other's schools, And we're calibrating our shared understanding of what high quality teaching and learning looks like. And we're focused this year on really explicit instruction on grade level content, assignments, and tasks. So going back to some of what we've been learning over the last couple of years. And so those will be our look fors. We have our first one this Thursday. We will be at EDS and Anderson as a leadership team. And so that will be a new kind of switching of focus for us as instructional leaders. All right, next slide. Okay, here's the big one. You ready for this, Brian? Here we go. So a really big key shift is our approach to reading in kindergarten through second grade. So we have been a guided reading district for a very, very long time, which is a good thing, but there's been some pieces that have been missing. So if you look on the left-hand side, there's what we call the simple view of reading. It came out in 1986. This is not new. And what that equation says is that if you can decode and you have some language comprehension, you'll be a successful reader and you'll read with meaning. That is sort of on the opposite side of maybe the whole language approach, right? That's where the reading wars kind of came to be. They're on different sides of the reading wars. We don't like to think about reading as wars. That's kind of silly to us. So in 2001, Scarborough's Reading Rope came out, which is actually a much more comprehensive view of what it takes to be a skilled reader. So on the top half of the rope, what you're talking about is building that background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, how language works, vocabulary, reasoning, and really like understanding literacy and the knowledge and all that comes with understanding content, having discussions and small group reading. That's sort of the basis of what we do in guided reading. You're using real books, you're reading real content, you're having real discussions, it's real vocabulary, it's lifting the level, and we are building comprehension and meaning. Then there's the bottom part of the rope, which we call word recognition, but that's not just phonics. That includes phonological awareness, phonics, decoding, and sight recognition. And so in Moreland, we have, and I was taught this way, you kind of tuck in the bottom part of the rope during your guided reading. That's how you teach reading. You're still implementing those components, but they're sort of tucked into your lesson. But what the research is really clear, and what the science of reading folks are coming out and saying now, is that, well, actually, you need to systematically teach phonics, phonemic awareness on a scope and sequence that's not just connected to what you're doing in guided reading, but actually outside of in a systematic way. Does that make sense? And so we are doing that in Moreland this year. This is a new approach for us. We're not getting rid of our small group guided reading instruction. We are adding this additional component of word recognition. And Jen will talk a little bit more about the curriculum aspect of that. So I wanted to make sure that I put that out in the public so that people and teachers and even our union understands why we're making some of the shifts, why we're implementing some of the things that we are, because it's based in research and we know that our kids need both parts of the rope in order to be successful readers. And so that is the inquiry that we are on for this year. All right, so that was a lot. Let's turn over to the next slide, which is our district-wide outcomes. All right, next slide. So every year we give the Panorama Survey. This is where we ask our families, our staff, our students, their perceptions around school culture, instruction and rigor, school leadership. These are nationally normed results. One of the things that we found out from our families in this last round is that they are feeling a bit disconnected. They are wanting more connection with other families, but they're also feeling less confident in how they support their own child with being successful in school, whether it be with friendships or their academics. Our scores did drop a little bit, and we heard this was echoed in our President's Council meeting. We heard some of these same things keep coming up. So the data that we got on the survey and the data that we're hearing at the meetings is actually aligning, which is a good thing that it's an alignment, but it also means that we have some work to do with our families. Next slide. So our elementary school students were actually feeling quite positive, and we perform pretty well nationally when you rank us against other school districts who are also taking the same survey. Our students are feeling more safe. They are feeling like there's more belonging. They feel like the rigorous expectations are going up. Student-teacher relationships stayed the same, but you can see they're in the highest part of that. So we're in the upper quintile, if you will. And so pretty good, always room to improve, but pretty good for our elementary school students. When you go to the next slide, our middle school students are not feeling the same way. So our middle,
A quick question.
yes.
When we say compared to other schools nationally, is there a consistency of the schools or was it, schools in similar demographic backgrounds like ours or like in some or urban schools, rural, you know what I'm saying?
It's like a nationally norm standardized test,
Okay,
right? So this is a nationally norm standardized perception survey,
okay.
if you will. It would be this, it's very similar to that. So thousands and thousands of school districts, thousands and thousands of students and families
Okay.
take this, staff take this. And so
Okay.
that would be, we'd be benchmarked against the
Against
national
everyone.
norm.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So middle school students, we did make some gains last year, but we've got a lot of room to grow. We are needing some work in terms of school belonging, safety, rigorous expectations, student-teacher relationships. There's a lot of work, a lot of room to grow. It also makes sense, even sixth through eighth graders are a little more disconnected than our elementary. And so, our families are feeling disconnected, our middle schoolers are feeling disconnected in some ways. And so this is where we want to put our energy and our focus. And I think you'll hear some strategies from our middle schools as they present tonight and in future nights. But this is definitely an area that is of concern for us. Next slide. Our teachers were actually feeling pretty positive, which was a bit surprising with the number of changes in leadership that we had last year. There was a significant amount of change, and yet our teacher perceptions, now it didn't go up that much, but I like to see green. There's no orange. Green is always good when you're looking at these. And so it did inch up just a bit, always room for growth, but it was a little bit surprising given the amount of change that we had. I didn't expect this, but so we were pleased with this when it came out. Next slide. So this is not a happy slide. As a district, we made no gains overall in grades 3 through 8 English language arts. So this is all 3rd through 8th graders on the CAST assessment. We really are stuck. We've been stuck for the last 4 years. We have not made any progress. There were some bright spots. So some of our schools made gains, some of our schools fell behind. One of the biggest bright spots in reading was Anderson grew their reading scores by 8 points. It was a huge achievement. And they have closed the pre-pandemic gap by beating their scores pre-pandemic by 2 points. So we are really proud of Anderson. I just wanted to highlight them as one of the schools that did a really, really standout job in ELA for this last season. And then in math, if you move forward, again, we made no progress as a school district. Some schools made gains, some schools did not. A couple of bright spots, Latimer and MMS, who will be presenting tonight. So Latimer gained by 5 points and MMS by 4 points. Those were some bright spots. So you'll hear a little bit more about that tonight. But again, as a whole, again, very spotty, not consistent, up and down. And so as a whole, just no movement. So this is very disappointing because we know how hard people are working and just moving the needle is so hard. So in those schools where we did see the needle move, it's for us to look and see what they're doing and make sure that we are learning from each other about what we can do differently to ensure that our students are successful. Next slide. And this is probably the slide that breaks my heart the most. Our subgroup performance is relatively status quo. We've not closed the gap, certainly. We're not closing the gap. We're not minimizing the gap. We are making some gains with our students on IEPs. Students of special education, you can see, are getting closer, very close to where they were pre-pandemic, which pre-pandemic, we still had room to grow. So a lot of work needs to be done in these areas. Almost half of the students in Moreland fit inside one of these or one or more of these categories. So these are our students, right? These are our students. And so they might not have been the population that we had 10 years ago or even 5 years ago because our population is shifting And that means we also have to look at ourselves and make some shifts. So I talked about some of those key shifts that we're making as a leadership team, that you'll hear from the school, some of the shifts that they're making as individual school sites. So I'm not here very excited about the data, but this is our current reality. And all we can do is grow from here. And with that, we just want to stop and ask if you have questions before we move to education services.
I guess the question that I have is, or maybe I'm trying to kind of connect the three-legged approach that you talked about, which has clearly seen pretty significant improvements in other school districts. Are we going to address that in other next set of slides in terms of like how that would, what's the approach for MMS or not MMS, for the school district in general?
Yes and no. So I'll say mostly no, because what if you look at both of the studies, the Opportunity Myth and the Opportunity Makers, one of the most essential core pillars between both studies is kids have access to grade level content, grade level tasks, assignments, and that they are being pushed into and towards grade level work, so that we're not engaged in remediation and constantly filling the holes and going back and trying to fill holes that maybe students missed during the pandemic. So that is a consistent thing through both these studies. So that will be the focus of our work with the site leaders when we're doing our instructional rounds and we're observing in classrooms and we're looking for explicit instruction. Is it on grade level? Is it standards aligned? So that is going to be the work of our observation, just thinking about the teacher, the content, the student, what is happening during the school day, and being able to observe and give the principal another set of eyes when we're in their schools. So that is a core of our focus for instructional leadership. So that's the yes. When it comes to belonging, you will hear a lot from schools about the strategy they've been putting in place for belonging. So to me, that is a place where we actually have been doing a lot of work. When it comes to coherence, we have been talking as a leadership team about, what's happening during our intervention time. Is it aligned? Is it remedial? Is it accelerating? Is there communication between what's happening with the intervention teacher versus the classroom teacher? And so we're just starting those discussions. I don't know how much you'll hear about it in the SIPSAs, but that is an inquiry. But I would say our main focus this year is on grade level content, tasks, assignments, access to those opportunities, and what is that level of explicit instruction that's happening. That's where we're going to put our focus this year.
So I'm not an educator, so I apologize if this question sounds dumb, but I did want to ask it because up until now, if, as you said, our focus has been on remediation and kind of like helping the kiddos come forward. But one of the key findings out of this study is present the kids with the content that's relevant to their year. That's a pretty significant philosophical shift in approach in our district, right? I don't think it's gonna happen overnight. I don't think somebody's gonna go walk into the classroom and say, okay, this is how I used to do it all these years. Now I'm gonna do something different. But the journey is important too. But I'm assuming that we're taking the first step on that journey.
Yes, and principals have been doing this. This is not new.
Okay.
So they have been focused on
Which is why I said I profess.
standards aligned, content, instruction. What does that look like? You'll probably hear some things from Moreland Middle School. Certainly our AVID strategies in the middle schools are really also attacking those same strategies. Our writing units that we are writing and implementing this year, those are all grade level aligned and making sure they're getting more and more complex as the years go on. So it's not new, but we're trying to put a renewed focus on it so that we can accelerate some of that learning. We're learning ourselves, we're focused, we'll be talking about it, we'll be calibrating our conversations around it, giving feedback to teachers around it, designing professional development around it. That's how we'll approach that work.
Yeah, and the thing then I would encourage you and all the psych leaders also is please highlight, and I apologize if I speak for the board, but I'd highlight to us the challenges that you might have to get to that and what we can do to support that journey.
Yes.
Because I think it is important for the teachers to feel as supported in this journey as possible. And what can we as a board do to do that? Is it, again, within the finite world of resources, et cetera, is it reallocating resources? Is it like looking at our priorities and changing things? Or is it like, as you said, more PD days? What is it that we as a board can do to support this? Because this is pretty critical, as you can imagine.
It's the lever.
Yeah, it is. It
It's
really
the
is.
critical lever.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for me before we move on?
Can we talk a little bit about, so I know this has been a tremendous effort already and it's going to continue to be. What support looks like for the kiddos to kind of, when they are working on grade level work, but maybe are a bit behind, what kind of support is being provided to help bring them up and bring them close that gap, if you will?
So that's where we talk about this double dose, where you receive the content grade level instruction in your homeroom or with your grade level, your regular teacher. And then you may go with an intervention teacher, be in an intervention program that is a second dose of that topic. So second dose of math, second dose of reading. So you're getting twice the reading in one day than a student that is at grade level, if you will. So
Okay.
that's how we're trying to catch students up, is not by pulling them out of the grade level content and filling the gaps, but by making sure they're in with their grade level peers, doing grade level tasks and assignments and getting a second dose on top of that. That's our intervention strategy.
Any other questions?
I think it's important to express that that's not good news. I mean, I know you said it, but there's a group accountability as a leadership and governance team to say, our efforts are, to move this forward for students, and we believe it's doable. But I still don't hear, I hear some kind of pieces of it, but I'm still nervous that we don't actually have a plan for it. And it's not an account, like I'm saying this is an us conversation and not a you conversation, which is because it's so disappointing. I lose sleep over looking at these slides and thinking to myself, like, we've gone round and round on some of these topics. And what are we really going to meaningfully do different to change it? And are we having the right level of honest conversations that would be necessary? And it touches all kinds of things, grading policy. There's there are a lot of third rails in this when we talk about it. But at the end of the day, we need to really be unified in seeking growth for our students. And this report card says maybe we're not doing that. And that shouldn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good.
And we can't roll by the next slide and be like, well, we're gonna.
Because it's year after year, it's the same data. You
Yeah.
really it's the same data for the last 3 years.
Sure.
It's the exact same slide.
Yep.
Right? And I know people are working hard, but somehow we've got to work together in a different way. And so we are trying strategies that are research-based. We are changing our approach to reading. We are focused on the right levers. You're going to hear a lot from Moreland Middle School tonight about what they've been doing to change the trajectory for students. But are all of our schools there? Not yet. And so that is a hard conversation that we need to have as a leadership team and as a governance team, and all of our principals, all hands on deck, all in together. And I do feel like we've got the right leadership team in place to do it. We've made some changes over time, and I feel really good about those changes. And I feel like we've been headed in the right direction, but I do feel like there's a renewed sense of urgency around the work with some of these changes. And so I'm hopeful that, I keep saying this is the year, but the work we're doing is the right work. There's no other strategy out there that would say, that we should do something different. It's just, we've all got to be working together in this. And, what are the tools? What are the supports that teachers need? But we don't have we don't have resources that just go on forever. There is a fixed amount of resource and we can only do so much. And so not an excuse, but we do have to be on the same page. The principals have to be in it. The assistant principals have to be in it. The teachers have to be in it. Families have to be in it. The board and leadership has to be in it. We have to be doing it together.
I think the other thing that I'd encourage everybody to look at is, sometimes we get caught up in what are the additional things that we should be doing. That sometimes, and it's important especially as I keep going back to that world of finite resources, there's a set of things that we should stop doing,
That's right.
right? I don't know what those are. I'm not the expert at all, but I'd love to kind of see, are there certain things that are just not giving us the momentum and the forward progress that we'd like? And it's time to just, to your point, it's a third rail, and we should not be afraid to tackle that. So please advise us in terms of like, hey, these are the things that we're just going to stop doing. They're not working. And
You will hear some of that in the SIPSA presentations. We definitely have built that in, some of the things that we're going to stop doing, some of the things that,
Sure.
we're working, we're going to keep doing, and some of the new things that we're adding. So you'll hear that in the presentations.
awesome.
I want to echo Brian's comments, and also thank you for using the word urgency, because that definitely obviously sparks a sense of urgency. And so to Shriram's point, I fully agree. Whatever resources or however we as a leadership board can support all of those efforts, please do, let us know. And we are not the experts, so we are looking to you for that guidance so that we can support all of the work that's happening.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, we're going to move on. Turn it over to Jen, Educational Services.
Thank you. Next slide. So I think one of the foundational things that we needed to secure coming out of COVID was looking at our student support across the board. And we would hear about behaviors and situations throughout our district and the struggles that folks were having. And we found this need to have a universal rollout this year of the Moreland student support model, so that we would all be on the same page. This kind of was born out of our inclusion collaborative last year, and we as a team worked together to come up with what are the key components that we need as a district that we all will agree to. That the concept that we're stronger together if we are all practicing these same things. And so some of those are the PBIS, trauma-informed practices, to have quiet corners. So we were able to establish everybody agreeing that we will do SSTs in this way, that we will do the SEL curriculum, and we will make sure that we're delivering this many lessons. So having that coherence across our district to make sure that this basic fundamental support is there across for all kids. And ultimately our goal is to have a safe, responsive, supportive learning environment for all schools. And along with that is our new Moreland behavior support model, which is a model where our new behavior techs and our BCBAs are distributed, as you can see, out to the sites and to support our students, but also really support our staff. They're there to watch students, to understand students' triggers, and understand them well enough that they can then teach our staff about them and what we can do to help support our students better. And we are already seeing noted differences, and we're really excited about the future. I think we will have to continue to adjust it and hear if how we set it up is working best and so forth, but we're really excited about the prospects of the difference it can make. When we had Pacific Clinics, we appreciated their work, but we have a lot more control of this model because we are directing their work. And our principals have a lot more flexibility to work with the staff how they need, how need be. Next slide. And Clover already brought this up, and I can't even tell you how excited we are to bring forward the K2 foundational literacy we really believe that this is fundamentally important to have that growth, like Clover talked about, that to have it strong for our youngest readers, and that we believe that all students need to be reading proficiently by third grade. Right, well, hopefully as soon as possible, but third grade is the key indicator. So we have compiled these components into our foundational literacy program. And the first one that you approved was our DIBELS screener. The DIBELS screener is being given and delivered right now. Tomorrow's the last day that they are delivering that, and the screener provides us indication of reading difficulties, and it provides our teachers information so that while they're working with their students in small groups, they understand some of the challenges, and it provides information that we didn't have before, specifically around phonics and phonemic awareness. Integrity is our phonemic awareness curriculum that we are now routinely, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, routinely delivering to our kids on a daily basis. UFly and Sunday is at Anderson, and UFly is going to be at our other elementary schools. That is our structured phonics curriculum, and we had a amazing training 2 weeks ago on foundational literacy that was given by Advancing Literacy. Ms. Beth Hickey was there, and she trained our leaders of our staff, and they it was so exciting to be there and just watch the lights go on, and that how empowered they felt that they were given tools that could make a difference, and a difference in a way that maybe they hadn't been able to make previously. And so they were planning, and how are we going to roll this out to our staff? And it was just, the excitement was palpable. And they're doing that right now. As we speak, they are rolling the new UFly curriculum out, and we have also added supports in ed services. We created a website to support our staff. We also sent them kind of a hyperdoc that they can access a lot of the supports. We are providing materials as well as also optional trainings on our end for people that want more support. So it is really an exciting time to see teachers feeling that empowerment to make a difference for their young readers. And we still have a very strong guided reading program. We are still completely supporting that in every way, and we see that if anything, it will just become stronger with this added component. And then we also have an emphasis on independent reading. That is such a key component to student growth. And so in this training, she also discussed that, and we are rolling that out to our sites as well, the importance of continuing to embrace that. So sorry, I got a little excited on this, but when I feel like we're making a difference, it is exciting. Next slide. All right, math collaborative and adoption. So last year we had the math collaborative meeting, and we met 6 times, and it was great. We looked at the math framework, we learned about it. We went to a conference and brought those things back, and we really grappled with some of the new things that California has put together in the math framework. Some of those things especially are around rigor and building students' capacity, and very similarly aligned with what Clover was talking about in terms of coherence, is really having grade level and rigorous expectations for kids. So this year, so that was last year, this year, 2025-26, we are piloting the new math curriculum. And the same team, which is an outstanding team, they will be a part of this adoption, and we have a whole process set up that they will be going through and exercising that curriculum in the classroom with the kids. And then in May, hopefully, I'm sure this will happen, we will bring a curriculum before you to share, hopefully for your approval, to adopt for the next school. So that is kind of our math collaborative work this year. And then I want to also emphasize kind of next steps from that. This is something that when I was a site administrator, I also started was an algebra bridge program, which is there's a couple different ways you can do that, but I think without getting into too many details, there is a track that's very important when you get into high school that sends you on a trajectory towards calculus or not. And it's very important that all of our kids have the opportunity. And so I think there's a couple of different things that we can do. We can do something to accelerate kids so that they can get into our compacted math program, and so that we can offer that in several different ways, but it would give the kids the opportunity to accelerate and get into the compacted math. But then also another opportunity would be, how do we prepare kids for high school and ensure that they have all of the tools they need to access IM2 and be prepared, or if they're going to a traditional track, geometry, that they have actually covered all of the standards that they need to. And in my experience, this we did this, and we actually did exactly that. We dove into what are the standards that they're missing, and then making sure that we cover those in that summer course so that we can accelerate. So that's a kickoff from this work that we would like to do. And really overall, our goal is how can we align our vertically across our district to just strengthen our math program. So that's math. Next slide. This is, I'm not going to read you all of the details. I'm just going to give you a couple of highlights that I'm excited about. And that is that there were several assemblies, and I don't know that I know you guys are going to think this is a wildlife assembly with rainforest animals. See, I knew I'd get a smile. A mad science assembly and a BMX assembly. And see, this summer was a lot of fun, but you see the numbers there. We served a ton of kids. It was just a great summer, and I really thank our ed services staff, but also Mariah was principal and our site supervisors. It really was a successful summer. No hiccups at all, and it just shows you again how many kids that we can service. And again, like I said, I'm hoping that we can extend this to this math bridge program. And then our last slide. Teacher professional development. Again, this is the bread and butter of ed services, of what we offer and how we support teachers. And I want to highlight some of the things we talked a little bit already about the foundational literacy, so I'm not going to go into that again, but that is such an important component of what we are offering. But we also are continuing our work with Stanford CSET. So our math teachers at the middle school, math and science teachers at the middle school level will still be working with Stanford. And what they are going to be focusing on is really implementing some of the things that were presented last year. And so they will meet monthly at our district collaboration and build that. In addition to that, we also have our entire staff being served by CSET in 2 of our district collaboration days. So everyone will be exposed to the new framework and start preparing us for the rollout of our curriculum next year. Communities of practice. I'm also looking forward to this. We start this next week. The communities of practice is it's research based. I don't know if you've heard of Wenger because it crosses over out of education. But Wenger's research basically talked about how important having people actually be in the social and physical context of learning and learning from others, learning from multiple others in a community is one of the most important things that you can do in terms of professional development. That's how you learn and take in information. And so in this model, we have created grade level teachers who will be leaders, and we train them this summer, and they will be leading professional development. But really what it is they will be looking at student work. They will look for a problem of practice, identify that, and then using what we've learned the last few years, especially the last 2 years, they will apply what they learned together, and they will go and work on that, try it, and then come back and talk about it, and did it work, did it not work? Okay, and then we will also be looking at our writing, because we have rolled out our writing units. And so they will be looking at specifically the student writing. And we will be using our rubrics and to really dive into, again, what are the problems of practice? What mini lessons do we need to come up with that can address those things? So there's that. And I'm not going to go into the others because we already kind of talked about them. And then our optional professional development. Those are just highlighting a few of the things that we are offering. Again, I already mentioned the Youth Life. And I'm excited to talk about AI. Our new TOSA is very talented, and she knows a lot of foundational literacy, but she also has a lot of tech skills. And so she's going to be offering the AI, kind of the next frontier in education, how we navigate that. And learn some tools. And I'm going to be doing the mindset training. So really looking forward to all of the options we have in the
You want to do questions?
Yeah, I just have a question. So, and just with like the new mindset shift, you've also shared that we are implementing a lot of new programs, Character Strong, Math Curriculum, Dibbles, a lot of those. And I was wondering, do we have like a loose plan? Because I know we can't do like a program evaluation for all of those, but a plan or some checkpoints that we do have to know that these programs are, effective, are really, helpful for our students. And I know like it's really early on, but yeah, I was just wondering if we just kind of have a way, even internally, to ensure that the new programs that we are implementing is being really effective, especially because we are talking about, finite resources and just, so I just want to be very mindful of that. Yeah. So I don't know if you have an answer now, but I just,
Yes.
yeah, just thinking of that.
Of course, the Dibbles is required by the state
Right.
as a screener. But I think that is what our LCAP is for. It ties all of our data points to our money as well. And so it really needs to be that transparency through there. And I think that's something I will definitely work on this year, is to make sure that there is that strong link between what we're doing, what our scores are, what money we're spending on that, and is that actually a viable connection across the district.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you. I think trying to utilize the time we have with students is really important. And I think from personal experience, your idea of the algebra, summer algebra is right on. We are sending, there are two things that are happening. We're sending students that are unprepared. And that's even after we say they are prepared. And I think that's a concern. And then secondarily, students that had gotten off track somewhere along the way, there aren't a lot of on-ramps to get back on track. And I just really appreciate that work and hope that it really is wildly successful. And I think the summer programs where you really are offering that, let's call it a double dose in a grade-free environment about trying to get, students and standards. I would love to know if that cohort of kids really actually was better off for the time they spent with us this summer, or did we do daycare? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I really mean it more like, did we use our time really well? And so to any degree that we see that cohort go through and go like, oh, we really did actually, we saw a little bump. And if we could push a little harder, we might be able to utilize that time well for students voluntarily coming to us, who might have higher needs in some cases. So I thank you. It's a lot. I would go back to every year. Every year I see this is a new program that we are doing, and this is another new program. I don't ever see the slide at the end that says we're no longer doing these 10 programs. We stopped that license. We stopped teaching that methodology. We stopped utilizing that, because if I were a teacher, I would think that I'm just always in a catcher's mitt. Like, okay, do I ever get to return the ball? Okay, no, all right, we're still catching. And so I just would love to see that same, not just from a dollars and cents perspective, but the next new program, I don't know is going to be the thing that changes it and we all get attracted to it. I know you know this, so I'm not, but it's when I see this, I go just, bullet points of like, and we're doing this program, we're gonna do this other program, we do this program, and you're like, okay, it's a lot. So thank you. And I'm really excited about, the efforts that you're putting in for kids on the ed services side. It's a hard job. A really hard job. Thank you.
I'll just add, I agree with Brian, but I did have, that was sort of something I had discussed with Clover, was sort of my daughter starting off to high school and getting good grades in 8th grade, and then kind of feeling not necessarily confident, but she was looking at the IM2, but not really sure if that was for her, and not having that confidence, even though she had the grades to show it, but not having the confidence in it. But the thinking of a bridge program for many of the kids who have maybe confidently felt like they passed the class in 8th grade, but then not really having the confidence that high school brings along another entity, or and so she, for that type of reassurance coming out of maybe a bridge program for many of the kids, like just feeling that level of confidence to go in and go, okay, I think I am ready to take on that next step, because a lot of it, the conversation was, I don't know, are you? She didn't know until the teacher to surprise him with like a test from 8th grade, and she's like, I knew this, but I don't remember it. And not having that confidence. So, the summer lag, and then when they start off in high school. But I do appreciate thoughtfulness and the thinking of how to really bring along these kids and vertically align it with the high school, and trying to ensure that, these kids are ready, certainly ready. So thank you.
So, as an ex-engineer, I'm always pleased and interested to see a consistent approach that can be, kind of like rinse, lather, repeat. But what concerns me is that we are a district within several districts, like literally within 3 miles of 2 schools, they're worlds apart. So what challenges do you anticipate in kind of like trying to take a consistent approach and applying it at one school site, and then taking it and trying to apply it at another school site where the challenges are very different, very real? That's my concern. It's like, it's a balance, right? It's a balance of having a standardized approach across the district, but at the same time recognizing that, not all school sites are the same.
Clover may want to chime in as well, but I think really that we perhaps maybe even have erred on the side of having a little too much freedom too at times. And I think when you do that, there is that consistency isn't there, and you're not ensuring that common viable curriculum across the board. And so I really feel like this, with our UFly and ensuring that every student is receiving their Heggerty and their UFly and Sunday, we are raising the level. Now, where I think the flexibility still comes in as a site administrator, your staff, your students, and then what adjustments you need to make, how you roll it out, when to check in, you have the accountability measures set up perhaps slightly differently. Some people may need more time. It may need to go slower to go fast, right? And so that's where that flexibility, I think, comes in and we have such strong site leadership that I don't have a doubt that they will take on that lead, and they already are taking on that leadership to ensure consistency and flexibility.
Okay. It's going to be a fine balance for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out how to ask this, but obviously there's a lot of committee work, there's a lot of collaboration that happens with various leadership groups and all of that. What is the mechanism for feedback or dialogue from the classroom on up and back and forth? Right, thinking about some of these things that are being implemented or that we're, trying to iron out. Obviously, we have a lot of really talented folks in the district. What does that look like? Is there an opportunity for everyone to engage in that conversation? Does it happen in PD? I'm just curious.
We do always receive feedback in every professional development. We send it out and it's, and in the end, it is recorded in the LCAP. Annually, it's one of our measures. I think the other thing is in our committees, we always take feedback from them, and I just had the standards-based grading meeting a little bit earlier with Michelle and a fantastic group, and they are going to all go out to their sites, gather feedback, and then bring that back. So important in my, at least in my leadership, to make sure that we hear what people are saying and really wrestle with that, because in order to move forward, like Trayvon was saying, you really have to understand where people are. And so I think that is something that's really built into these committees. That's the point of them, really, is that they are kind of representative of a larger populace.
So I'm worried about the math adoption. Really only because I've sat here long enough to watch curriculum adoption, how it traditionally transpires, which is it goes to committee, they look at 2 curriculum, they pilot one, we approve the one they piloted. Like just, and I don't, that's a gross generalization, but kind of the process that's come this way. And then there's a pretty common reflection on that curriculum that goes, well, it wasn't the right one. And so I guess my question is, from this, what advice would you give us? Because we're mid-pilot now, but we're not fully done. So if there was ever going to be a change still conceivably exists. How do we ensure the right curriculum adoption? And if you were non-educators up here, what should we be thinking or asking that would be helpful? Because we want to support the leadership that's gone through the work to look at curriculums. Like we know that those are subject matter experts. How do we add value to that conversation? Does that make any sense? Like if you were us, some advice would be great before we get all the way down to May.
But we do pilot 2, right, at the same time?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, so we will.
but the question is still
No, that's great.
100%, but.
It's a totally great.
So I think it would be very relevant to also bring a couple of participants from the committee to speak to you and give them who actually piloted an opportunity to
Yep.
answer questions from
They
you.
do. We historically have.
Yeah,
One of the things that I've asked
Yeah.
Jen, one of the things that I've asked Jen and her team to do is to go out and find out from surrounding districts that have recently gone through a pilot or are currently going through a pilot that maybe we admire some of their scores. What programs are they trying out? What are they using? What did they find? Were some of the strengths and weaknesses of what they did pilot or are piloting, to give us a little bit of benchmarking with some surrounding districts so that we're not just going into the pilot dark, but we've kind of have some feelers out there about what other districts are saying, or we like this one or we don't like
They're a
this.
couple years down the road. I love that. And then it always comes back to fidelity. Like, how do we adopt it with like legitimate fidelity? And sometimes we adopt curriculum and then we come to find, well, I never actually used it. And I mean, again, you got to remember the board member, like these are snippets, but my point is like, those are related. So if we're going to go through curriculum, how do we make sure?
I completely agree, Brian, and that's something that we have already been discussing, is we have to focus on the implementation of this next year. And I've already been in talk with CSET, who has received 100% positive on all of their work that with our staff, if they would be willing to help us implement our curriculum next year. And they are willing and able to, the conversations that they have around how do we support all staff in the implementation of a new curriculum excite me, and it also to me aligns with what Clover's talking about in terms of the coherence to those levers that actually make a difference. And so that's so important to us, that we're not just, oh yeah, we're just throwing a curriculum over here, that it's actually tied to our bigger focus of how we're making sure that we're teaching standards and we're accelerating students.
Thanks. I'd just be interested as we develop and go. Those are going to be key considerations for me. But how do we get to a good conclusion on it? And how do we have fidelity across the implementation execution? That's just me.
Thank you.
HR.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you.
We know the number one way to support student achievement and growth is by hiring and retaining highly qualified staff. And human resources that connects directly to goal 5 of the strategic plan. Down there at the bottom there. I'm just going to highlight a few areas of this slide. This year, one of our big goals is to explore options for the substitute system where people are calling in, make sure that's working for us, and our evaluation system, not changing the evaluation, but the actual system where the admin use to like log evaluated, where they actually type in, is that the best system? What are the other districts around us using? So more like an inquiry, like what are other people using? We already updated the classified job application this year. We're going to looking at our interview questions and updating them, refreshing them, making sure they're relevant and still working for us for all the different categories. Also looking at our reference check process and the questions we use for reference checks. We're going to also be working with technology to optimize kind of the processes with substitute systems and all these things. The county's also looking at QSS, which is a system we all use, and trying to really get a new system that integrates all this together with timesheets. And so the CBOs, HR, we're all putting input in there. So lots of things that will hopefully come together to reduce redundancy. All of our normal attracting, retaining staff stuff that we're famous for in Moreland will continue. But in terms of recruitment, we are gonna attend the county office job fair for classified this year, which we haven't done in many years. So we're gonna go back out. It's October, and we'll be looking at substitutes and openings for all positions. So just trying to get some fresh classified people in. We're always classified an area that always has turnover throughout the year, and also build up our sub pool for classified positions. We'll also be going back for credentialed as always, and we're gonna look at our colleges around us to attend their job fairs toward the end of graduation and try to talk to those young candidates who are ready to graduate in the special ed departments and all the different departments, and recruit from there. Then we have negotiations this year with CSCA, completely open contract. And with MTA, it's the contract language is been agreed on, but we have benefits and compensation that can be open. And our next slide is all the people we have welcomed so far this year. 76 total new hires for classified and certificated.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Questions, comments from the board?
I think one of the things that 76 new hires, that represents, I don't know what percentage of the total staff, 10%, 20%, 13?
14.
That's I'm assuming that, we have good plans in place to kind of make them feel as integrated as quickly as possible into Moreland.
A lot of them attended the welcome back, like the
Right,
certificated people attend the welcome back. The classified people are just kind of welcomed by their department, by maybe the teacher who they're going to be working with in a classroom.
Yeah.
They've gone through our HR, where they've explained kind of welcome to Moreland, here's our procedures, here's our process, here's how you fill in for a substitute. And all the front offices, giving people swag. We give them kind of some swag in the district office, trying to get them, their t-shirts, their lanyards,
very cool.
let them fit right in. and make them feel at home, yes.
Thank you.
It's such an important job because really that is where we can identify the best of the best, right? And so I just when I say that's a lot of folks, it's a lot of folks and a lot of work in identifying the best of the best in that group. And so I just want to thank you for your attention to those details.
Team effort, our admin, like our school site people interview and select. It's definitely a collaborative effort of all the supervisors who are hiring and selecting. So it's a big team effort.
Fabulous.
One of the things that we don't put in this PowerPoint because we take it for granted is that all of our classrooms were filled on the first day with classroom teachers. So in a lot of districts, there might be 5% of the classrooms don't yet have a classroom teacher. They're filled with a sub. In Moreland, we almost always have 100% of the teaching positions filled by the first day of school, which is a huge achievement. And so we don't put it up here because that's just how we do this in Moreland. But in many other districts, that is not a given. So I just wanted to call that out, that we had 100% fill rate on the first day of school for all of our classrooms. And so just, it's not here, but I thought it's an important data point that you should know.
That's
Good
huge.
call out.
Thank
That's a
you.
huge
Yeah.
call out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris will go fast.
Wait. You get two speaking parts?
It's all
Preparing myself.
So the reason we have all the PDs and the staff is because we're students, so we need them here. So I just want to thank our enrollment department. Since we opened enrollment in January, they've been busy getting classrooms. Even as you can see, our 10-day projection started off the school year with 37, 10, dropped a little bit, but then went back up. So they're constantly enrolling students. So first day, 3,710. Current enrollment as of when this was created was 3,728. We're actually up an additional 5 students. So we're at 3,733 as of today.
So are these like just new families moving in, or are
Families
they?
move in. The trend on the 10-day is normal.
Normal,
I
yeah.
think a lot of families still think we start after Labor Day. Not sure why, but it's a trend. I look back the last year or two, we dipped and then we kind of went back up. So we're constantly looking at it. We're back up to 2,733, which is good. We're trending upwards. So we'll continue to look at that. When we look at our
This might come up in your budget presentation, but for 2025-26, are we funded on 3748 still?
no, so we don't know what we're funded for this year. Talking about this year?
Yeah.
Our projection.
Yeah, so our projection, will come on the next slide.
Okay.
So we projected, so our ADA, so our projected ADA is 95.77% of what we projected. So depending on what our enrollment is, P2, that's when we'll do the calculations.
Okay.
So we'll get there. So we don't really know, we project our funding. But throughout the year, we're constantly looking. So this is kind of our 10-day average. After 10 days, we're at 97%. As of today, we're about 96.5%, which is normal. And we projected about 95. So that's what we used as far as we did our budget back in June.
Okay.
Projecting our. All right, so the summer projects, we didn't have a lot of bond projects this summer. But we'll see next summer that we'll start ramping it up with our fields, as you know. We did get some HVAC units at Anderson completed. We upgraded the sewer at Anderson, which if you recall last summer, it was on there. Sorry we brought that up. So it's done. It's done. So we got it done on time. Ready to go. We're doing the final punch list of the fencing, which is great. Almost on time, only 6 months behind, but we're good. Still waiting for some signage, but they did a fantastic job, the contractor, so.
A huge undertaking.
It is.
Undertaking, I think they did a great job. So
And every site, it looks great at every site. I mean, obviously, we all were a little bit nervous, or maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody. I was a little bit nervous when they first came on board, but it looks great. Each and every.
I joke that it's, was supposed to be in December, but they did a great job. The contractor worked well with us. It's good. As far as district-wide, finished up some campus beautification projects, some landscaping with the fencing, some asphalt improvements. We deep cleaned all the campuses for the start of school. All HVAC units were inspected, cleaned, and filtered. So. One of the highlights was our Latimer Playground project. If you remember, towards in the spring, we're like, "Ooh, it's done." So kind of fast tracked it and did a great job to my first day of school. And kids loved it. So
Looks great.
With three different playgrounds. So it's great. And this is just wanted to acknowledge our tech team and our food service team. You don't hear anything about them when they're doing their job.
That's right.
So it's really just to acknowledge them. They did a great job. School year started off smoothly with tech and students were good fit.
And then Maureen's gonna give a quick communications update, and then we'll turn it over to MMS. Sorry, MMS.
Now you know all about the district. Real quick, did anyone have any questions for Chris, or are we
I
good?
just, one quick question on the.
Sorry, no, you're good.
You don't need to step away. Food services, during COVID times, we had opened it up to any student. It's still open.
Yeah, so we still have universal meals.
Okay.
California is supporting it.
Okay,
Federally, some of those funds are gone, but California is committed to universal, so. everyone's-
Amazing.
that is awesome. Thank you.
Sorry.
That was it. Sorry, Maureen.
I'm gonna do a really quick little update, just to show you some of the things we're doing in the communications department. Mostly tied to goal 4. And as you know, the opening of schools happens months and months before the first day of school. Social media just gonna start here because this is an ongoing 365 days a year effort, really, to get promotion out there about all the good things we're doing. The numbers I'm gonna highlight really quickly are from July 24 to June 25, so really last school year. And I'm gonna start with our reach, because we're really proud to look at the reach of both Instagram and Facebook going up 171% for Instagram and Facebook 75%. And reach, in case you're wondering, is the unique people and accounts we're reaching. So that means 38,000 people saw our content on Instagram and 63,000 people on Facebook saw it.
Amazing.
And it's interesting, we started looking at numbers, I won't go too far down, but just how Instagram, you'll see, is growing faster. Our followers grew by 20% last year. Whereas Facebook has a much higher reach, but the followers are still around 5% growth in terms. So, and you'll see Facebook skews a little older, Instagram skews a little younger, and then, so we're kind of trying to meet all of our audiences where they're at, which is why that's really what it's tied to goal 4. And our goal is to increase our followers across both just by 5%. So that's really focused on social media. Any questions on that before we go on digital marketing? This is for our enrollment campaign. We launched some digital ads because we wanted to make sure, obviously, enrollment is important. So we did a big push before January 13th. Our enrollment center, we heard some really good feedback about, we got the message out early about enroll. Here's when it's starting. And we started that, December, January, kept hitting it hard. So we heard some really good feedback that they were inundated right at the start.
We like it when they're busy over there.
I love when I get the response saying, we're really busy, it'll take us a day, please bear with us. That's always a good sign. So that said, our digital marketing, we launched in April through June because we wanted to hit it harder. We wanted to see, okay, do some paid ads. So these are the ads we did. We focused on enrollment and hiring. And for a few months we did that. You can see that breaks down who we targeted, how we did it. Long story short, the TK Kinder ad performed really well. Our general enrollment, not so much. We also did Nextdoor. So it's interesting to see what performed well, what didn't. And because TK did so well, we took a little pause because it started to get a lot. You want to take a break when summer people are traveling. And 3 weeks before school, we started doing the TK Kinder one again. And we were happy to see the boost that we saw in enrollment and having to, obviously, as TK expanded, and then having to add classmates as well. So that was really, we had some great takeaways from that. hit the target audience and also some takeaways of if you want to forward things up, kind of who will target next time. All right, campaign takeaways, this is just a few notes. Okay, so really quickly, CTR is click-through rate. That is how many people see your ad and click on what you're serving them up. We want to serve them the enroll here, or apply here, right, and join. So we had a really good click-through rate where I think benchmark is like 3%. So Google search had a 9% click-through rate. And that's the percentage of people who clicked it. And then our recruitment, the hiring ads did great. A lot of people were really excited about that. So we had about a 10% click-through rate on that. So we're happy with that. And like I said, just about the intended parent demographic, it was interesting of who we targeted. And also we saw that 65 and up demographic in Moreland, which we actually think about the grandparents and how Moreland, and if you look at extended families. So that is pretty much that. We're happy with our benchmarks. So just wrapping it up.
Real quick,
Sure.
is this Google search a combination of paid search and organic search, or is it just all organic?
That is, I think that is, I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
Okay.
Um,
Do we do paid search?
we do, well, that's why I think it's paid search is what
Okay.
it was, because we actually have, and in the report, we have all the search phrases that were used. And
Okay.
enrollment and hiring were actually some of our best performing, but like public schools, looking for kinder for my.
Right.
So I believe it was mostly paid, but let me get back to you to
Yeah.
make sure.
And one,
Because this was the paid search.
This was the
This
paid
is the
search.
paid digital. And I don't have the stats on we have to look more at Leo at our website. We do have some stats there we can look at for more organic.
okay.
Yes, this is all paid.
And just curious, again, don't need to answer it now, but I'm just curious if we have a strategy for like either display ads or anything like that on very specific site, like Redfin or Zillow, especially in the zip codes that we serve, just kind of say, hey, thinking about 95130, consider more.
Because more housing is going up.
Yeah.
I want to also make sure, one of the things that so for this campaign, we partnered with Strategies 360, which is a firm that Homer's worked with in the past, Moreland is using in the past, and before I was here.
Okay.
And so they helped us with the target, really, it was more location based, as you
Yeah.
can see kind of how the ads were served up. That said, I do think there's room for growth, especially working with realtors in the area.
Yeah.
Because we know how important, when it comes to the listings and, how, when you're looking at a home and how it shows the schools.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have that, touch point, with those realtors, so actually it's more beyond the numbers as well.
It is, and I'll tell you exactly why. 25 years ago to the date when we bought the house that we live in right now, we based it purely based on a San Jose Mercury article that said Moreland School District, a hidden gem in the Silicon Valley. That was like, my wife was like, hey,
Hung on to that quote. That
It was-
quote has
I
been
remember
around for
the headline.
25 years. I've heard about that quote.
And I remember that headline, we bought our house
Got it.
based on that. Yeah. So I know how powerful it could be.
Well, and we have added to our enrollment forms, we've added some questions to find for our new enrolled families, and this is new, I'm really excited about the last year, to say, how did you hear about enrollment?
Yeah.
And while unfortunately we got more others than we want, other doesn't tell you much. We
Yeah.
actually saw school websites were
Okay.
the second most important, so we actually just met with a lot of the school admins to talk about, and I'm working with them to make that homepage, how important that is as a recruiting tool.
Yeah.
Less for the internal community, actually, and more external.
Yeah.
And the second one is word of mouth and how much that matters, so.
Cool, thank you.
Sure, any other questions before I go on to the last one? For community outreach just continues to be a focus, as you know, for goal 4 relationships. It's all about relationships. And that connection. So last year, we were proud that we had a media mentions were up 125% year over year. We're gonna hope to continue pushing our great stories out there. We're gonna be doing an annual report out to the entire Moreland community, which is in the past, to show the statistics about Moreland, how the bond money is being used, and its further connection. Our Moreland Insider newsletter, hopefully everyone subscribes to that with the board updates, what happens here. That is now going out to our parents through Parent Square, which translates it, which it wasn't translated before.
Amazing.
And we really got some wonderful feedback from our principals and assistant principals about meeting our families where they're at, and that's one way we're gonna do that. And just lastly is the West Valley Community Services, we continue to partner with them as you hear, we keep letting people know about the Parkett Market. And that's it, any questions for me?
No questions. Yeah, I just want to say like, thank you. I know you're like always behind the scenes and snapping pictures and like doing, and I think it's so important, especially now that, you know, media is everywhere, market. And so we're in the digital age. So thank you so much, Maureen. It's really important in connecting everyone in the district, in the community. So thank you.
Yeah, I love getting the notifications and checking out what you've put up and getting that sneak peek into what our students are experiencing, you know, on various campuses. And I think that is just, it is so important, right, to be sharing all of our successes and highlights. And so, you know, we think of that sometimes. We've talked about limited resources. We think about that sometimes as an extra. I don't actually feel that it is. I think it's critical that we're sharing our entire story. And so I just want to thank you for your efforts on that front and for all of the data. I actually enjoyed reading the report that you put in the Friday report. I didn't understand a lot of it, I'll be honest, but it was really interesting to see what, you know, when you invest and you make an effort, what the results can be. So thank you for that.
I'm happy to answer if you have any questions.
So many questions, but that's okay.
Okay, I think we've taken more than enough time. And I know MMS has been very patient.
Very patient.
Very
Before we
patient.
move on though, I do want to acknowledge this is a tremendous amount of work that involved absolutely everyone in this school district. It's a lot of moving parts that, again, I just want to thank and celebrate all of the work that goes into making sure our students are well supported in a variety of ways. And I wanted to call out that you had mentioned at the MEF meeting that this was such a successful start to the school year. And that I can't emphasize enough is because of the people.
Yeah.
Y'all working together, make it all happen. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that work and thank you for it. Sorry, took so long. Please, we're on to the MMS SIPSA. If you're still with us. I'm glad we do have a table and chairs now, though that is helpful.
Jamie, Carol, Melissa, and I are very excited to be here with you tonight. And we have a lot of gems that we're excited to share with you. When we started in Adams Mead years ago at Mullen Middle, and we really did implement specific priorities that are around what Closure shared in her report. It was about alignment, it was about belonging, it was about consistency. And we will touch upon many of those things tonight as we talk about our test score data, some of the initiatives that we are doing away with, as well as some of the initiatives we're implementing this year from previous years. We are excited. Well, we switched. There you go. We are super excited to share with you that we were able to stabilize ELA instruction at Portland Middle. So in 22-23, we had 57% of students score at meet or exceed grade level standards. And last school year, we were at 57% for the 23-24 because Portland Middle has been seen declining. And so we were able to stabilize that at 57%. And in our 24-25 data, we show that 59% of students met or exceeded ELA standards. So we saw a little increase there and are delighted by that increase. Our goal for the 25-26 school year is for 64% of our students to meet or exceed grade level standards. Next slide. Well,
do you want me to ask questions as we go along or wait?
Do you want me to get through the ELA slides and sort of answer all of them together?
Sounds good. That sounds good.
Thank you. And so, in addition to the overall 5% increase in school-wide ELA, for our goals this year, we are, our goals are to increase each of our subgroups by 10%. The achievement of our subgroups is critical to us. It's very, very important. And many of the initiatives that we have implemented will help support all students, especially students in our subgroups. In terms of our key initiatives, we have restructured and discontinued some of the way that we structure our elective courses to support our English language ELD students or English learners, as well as our ELA intervention class. And so these are both interventions that we've put in place since we've been an administrative team at Portland Middle School. So in terms of what's ongoing, we are continuing to have ELD and ELA interventions, but we've restructured them so that they're year-long interventions. And so previously what we had done in ELA or ELD is we had students participate in this 1 semester long class when they were new to the country, less than 1 year, and then from there we put them into our bridge classes. What we've done is we've eliminated that first semester course, and we have now a year-long bridge 1 class and a year-long bridge 2 class. Those 2 classes are going to both focus on reading, writing, speaking, listening, but certainly in that bridge 1 class, that speaking and listening component is critical, because I can certainly sometimes hear and understand more than I can independently articulate, even articulate with different supports and sentence frames and things like that. But really making sure that we're strategic and intentional in how we're supporting our English learners. And so we have Language Bridge 1, and we're using the Language Launch 1 program for that class. It's year-long, and then students could then go into Language Bridge 2, which is also a year-long elective to support students who have been in the country for more than a year, but they're still very immersion language learners. And so that's been a big restructuring for us. Last year, we implemented school-wide AVID and really focused on building strong tier 1 instructional strategies. We color-coded those to be 2 different colors. So last year, we really focused on writing, reading, and organization. We'll continue to focus in those areas, but we're also greatly increasing our focus on inquiry and collaboration. So the idea of going deeper and the idea of really building collaborative structures so students are able to engage in academic vocabulary, discourse, debate, all of those things so that they're able to apply what they're learning as well and do that in meaningful ways. Our data collaboration days, we really worked on building some horizontal alignment in our data collaboration days last year. This year, we're also focusing on that vertical alignment. So in addition to focusing on those instructional strategies that are consistent around the school site, also really ensuring that our instruction is aligned as well. We have small group differentiated reading and writing instruction, as well as we continue to do goal setting with our students. So it's important that students know what their data is, set short and long-term goals for that, and revisit that data as the year goes along. It's part of one of our school priorities is building that student agency, and that goal setting piece is a huge part of that. In terms of what's been newly introduced this year, our staff meetings are really structured around modeling an essential question, using that essential question and modeling different collaborative structures, and really focusing on an MTSS model. At the heart of MTS is a strong tier 1 model. So universal instruction that's standards-based and rigorous for all children. And then this year we have implemented the Starting Reading Intervention program. So before, reading intervention was a double dose for some of our struggling readers. We were able to get become part of a research project. And it's called STARry, so we will collect different data along the way that will be part of this broader study going on in the US. And STARry is really about teaching strategic reading strategies to struggling adolescent readers. It can be very difficult to intervene in struggling readers and with adolescents, but there's a couple of ways you do it. You do it with real high interest literature. You do it with strategies that we know are effective. So building comprehension strategies, fluency, building in decoding, building in academic vocabulary. And what's great is it's all part of that story. Those students will be participating in structured debates. So they're not just reading about this story, but then they're taking focused notes around that story. And then they're going to have to debate their stance with a partner. We're super excited about being able to implement that reading intervention. And we have three different teachers teaching it. We have 6 periods of STARry and as an intervention. And then additionally, we've been able to train one of our special ed class teachers, and she's implementing it in her class as well. As I shared, we've restructured our language bridge. So our language bridge 1 class is using the Language Launch 1 curriculum, and our language bridge 2 class is utilizing Language Launch 2 curriculum. That 4 periods a day, it's an elective for students who are English learners. We also restructured how we're supporting our LTALs, or long-term English learners. And instead of having them participate in an ELD focused class, instead many of them qualified for STARry. And STARry's got all of the components of a really strong ELD program. And so instead of having them in a ELD class, we put them into a reading intervention program that has wonderful ELD scaffolds, but it's also focusing on reading, writing, speaking, listening. We're very excited to implement the district-wide writing units at all of our grade levels. This year, we're also implementing World with Wise, which is a vocabulary program. What we saw when we were analyzing our data last year is that we needed to do additional work around vocabulary development. And we'll be able to do that utilizing World with Wise. And then additionally, we have been very fortunate to foster and cultivate a strong relationship with the high school district. And the collaboration with our EL teacher, our ELA teachers, and 8th grade with the high school district around instruction, expectation, supports, is continuing. And I'm happy to answer any ELA questions. If you'd like, but then Lisa goes on to math. Or we can do it.
No,
I
That's okay, that's totally fine. I think it was good for me to get the full story to do that. So a couple things. First off is good to see that there's a positive trajectory. I mean, I think that's definitely a good sign for sure. I guess my question is, last year we set the target at 67%. And when we set that in this room, we all acknowledged that it was extremely aggressive. And I was one of the people who was like extremely also supportive of that, because it's like, hey, unless we set a really high standard and goal, we're not even going to have a shot at getting there. So I totally recognize and admit that that was a very, very ambitious goal. We made positive strides to that. So congratulations to you and the team. Would love to kind of understand your thinking of, that was a 10% targeted jump. This year, we're trying a 5% targeted jump. Just walk me through your thought process for that.
Of course. So once upon a time, when we used to do these SIPSAs, it was 10%, 10%, 10%. And so really, like for me, I was using a whole framework in how we approach that when we set that target. And honestly, that was past practice. And so as we set these targets, we really use not only our past data from last year, but we already have iReady benchmark data. And we already have iReady benchmark data that has projected goals as well as stretch goals. And so what we've been able to do is use last year's data, but now use the data that the kids took last week and 2 weeks ago.
Right.
To come up with these goals. And we really do believe that we will reach that 5% or exceed that 5%. And with structuring some of the interventions that we have in place, we are positive that will help support our students. Like earlier, Ryan mentioned about the forgetting piece and oh, I learned that. But last year we implemented focus note taking. We did a lot of work as a team around the forgetting curve. And we know that the more you engage with what the content you're learning, or you apply strategies, whether that's circling essential vocabulary or highlighting like the main parts of what I'm learning. Those are all ways to help retain information. And so those are structures we put in place last year, we'll continue to put in place this year and build upon.
Okay. And in your assessment, based on the student data that you're seeing, do you feel like, especially given the changing demographics, is it going to be a tougher challenge moving into this year? Or is it like, hey, we know what we're facing? Especially in the English language side.
The reality is we serve the students in our community, and children are always going to come and go.
Right.
And if we have strong tier 1 standards-based instruction and supports in place to help any learner that comes through our door, then they also see it. And that's building that belonging, that consistency, that alignment. And that's what we've been working on as a team. And that's all of us, our leadership team, our PBIS team, every staff meeting, these 3 priorities and goals that we have as a site, they're from when we originally started as an admin team, and we've added to them. Like originally we didn't have student agency as part of that, but we've added that into our priorities and goals around student belonging.
That helps. Thank you for that context. Thanks.
All right, so Melissa's time.
Oh, sorry, sorry. I didn't know. There are 2 things that strike me. So, did iReady actually help you? Like, again, were you surprised by your results, or did iReady predict the results that you received?
We are seeing a pretty strong correlation with iReady. I mean, we really are. And we're also seeing it being corroborated in some of the formative assessments that we're doing in the classroom. So we have seen benefits of using it. Now, we're also not using it in lieu of instruction. It's a supplement. It is not a replacement of strong instruction.
But it's working as intended. So you're able to go back into iReady, find the places where students were not performing, create those individualized plans, and then subsequently help close those gaps. That's still working in the way.
It's been really helpful. And that iReady also has some really nice structural grouping boards, as well as some suggested next steps that has been really helpful as well.
Awesome. That's great.
It's help with like parent conversations as well as like, how do I support my child at home? And you're able to kind of pull that, you're like, according to this, like if they really need support in this, and giving them some ideas of activities to work on at home, and they've been really appreciative of that.
I think it's a great feedback loop. I mean, the next question for me is like, if I look at what you've lined out, I still see remediation as a major theme in these interventions, remediations. Where do you see rigor or pushing higher performing students, as an example, within these goals? And
so one of the things that we've worked really hard at is ensuring that we have strong tier 1 standards-based instruction. And so I might walk into, for example, Miss Battleson's eighth grade ELA class, and she's doing a writing activity. And if I am a student that needs some additional support within what she's put on my slide deck, for me, she might have some sentence strings there because I need that help. Whereas Melissa doesn't. So for Melissa and her class, she's, being pushed to start using that graphic organizer, start, coming up with how you're going to write your 5-paragraph essay. Hey, I really, and then redrafting that, or I like how you did X. I want you, Melissa, to go find some sites, cite your evidence and infuse that into your writing. And so it is really knowing where students are and then differentiating from there.
Yeah, and you're seeing that in your walkthroughs. That's
Yes.
consistently, that's.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And it's really focused. It's something we're really working on.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, so similar to what Teresa was saying, when we became an administrative team a few years ago, that first year of data was at 43%. Subsequent year was 43%, we maintained. And then last year, we did increase by 4%. That 47% met or exceeded that standard for math. And so our goal, as Teresa was mentioning earlier, we've set it to about 5% for this year's goal. And we were looking at our data from iReady today. And the projected, if they do exactly what they need to, will meet that. However, if we as a site and with our teachers look at really those stretch goals in iReady, which is really the push, we will definitely exceed that. So that will be our work this year for our math team. We can go to the next slide. We do have work to do with our subgroup data. So similar to ELA, we have a target of increasing each of those subgroups by 10% to achieve for their next year. And we'll go to the next slide. And then these are the key initiatives we're really working on. So we did not have a math intervention double dose last year. We did not, looking at data the year before, find that it was helpful with the structure that we were utilizing. So we did change that though for this year based on the data. And so I'll speak about that in a little moment. So ongoing, as was mentioned before, focusing on that tier 1 instruction. So avid consistently, whether you're a math teacher or ELA, PE, and all of our electives, we focused on writing, organization, and so really looking at that and what does that look like in the different content areas? Because reading and writing in math is going to look different than reading and writing for a piece of literature or in science. So what does that look like? And then this year we'll continue with some avid strategies with inquiry school-wide. Data collaboration days are coming up for us this week for our math team. And so while last year we focused on horizontal alignment, our team is really ready to look at that. And so we have most of our math data collaboration days. We've paired our 6th and 7th grade team together because those are the standards that most directly align when you look at the math continuum. And then 8th grade will be on its own. However, there are plenty of times in our other meetings where alignment 6, 7, 8 to really support that collaboration. And they're wanting this. They're ready for it. We've had years with CPM and now as new teachers come on board, they're really seeking this vertical alignment. We're going to continue with small group differentiated math instruction. So I think somebody asked earlier, what does that even look like if you're teaching a grade level standard? What does that look like if you're not remediating? Well, that's tier 1 instruction. We're pulling a small group. So as a former 8th grade math teacher, teaching Pythagorean theorem, for example, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Everybody smashing over there. Sorry, it's late at night, so you might fall asleep. But you might have a student that needs a reminder on what square roots are, or how to solve that equation, or it's that application, but really you're still teaching them Pythagorean theorem, that 8th grade standard. And so who is it that needs a little bit of support before they can access that grade level material or a little reteaching?
hey, you must have forgotten this, let's talk about it and move on. So really looking at that to differentiate and support all of the learners and pushing them to achieve at that level that they need. Continued goal setting with students, so powerful for that student agency. And then we're really able to connect that when we reach out to families, when we share those high-record reports as well, to make that connection. And then we get to continue our course offerings for Project Hope. So we have 12 different sections of that which support math. Medical detectives, as we saw today, all those future medical professionals in the room, robotics, coding, graduates, technology. And then newly introduced this year, we have a year-long math intervention. So instead of a semester long that it was in the past, it's a year long. It's 2 periods and it's a double dose. And it's using content, supplemental content that is at grade. So they're getting grade level instruction in their 6th grade math class. And they're also getting 6th grade math content in this intervention class. So it is a double dose to really support and build that foundation for them. In the short time we have them for 3 years. And so to build that foundation, and I think it was Ryan maybe that said earlier, that confidence building, so many of them feel defeated in math when they come to us. They just, whatever experience they have, are this fixed mindset. And the teachers that are teaching it are not only working on the math skills, but their confidence building. Because if they can believe they can do math, they will do math. So it's a lot of that.
And is it the same topic in the intervention double dose, or is it like this plus some associated
They weave
complementary?
in as best they can in the past few weeks, at least. They weave in as much as they can. One of the teachers is a 6th grade math science teacher, so she knows exactly where they are.
Okay.
And then collaborates quite frequently with the other teacher as well, who teaches 7th grade.
Okay.
So, and then it's great because they have that vertical line as well.
Perfect.
What do we really need to do to help get them ready for 7th?
Makes sense.
And then as Jen was mentioning earlier, that Stanford CSET team will be coming back. And so really not introducing, but they were introduced to it last year, but really focusing on implementing those language structures in math class. So what did that look like last year? And how can we really implement it and learn from each other? And that Stanford CSET work really helps support that leadership in that math science professional learning. We have focused note taking that we will continue. We started it last year. It didn't quite take off as much as we would have liked. And so really implementing 2 and 3 columns to really help them process, because it's not enough to just do steps of a math problem. You really need to be able to process. And if you look at it at home at night, do those steps actually make sense for you to be able to do your homework? And then one thing that came up from one of our elective teachers last year is she saw a gap and really wanted to teach a financial literacy elective. So our Project Lead the Way teacher, one of them, is now introducing financial literacy. And when I was speaking with 6th graders in the past few weeks, they said that is their favorite class right now. So it's about money. I mean, but so that is something that is going to support. Well,
Thank you. I wish I had that financial literacy in college.
Same,
And then to have it in middle school is even much better.
I have a math kind of question. Talking about vertical alignment, and I know Jen earlier had mentioned the algebra summer bridge, and starting from middle school, students are kind of in a way set on like a track. I just kind of wanted to pick your guys' brains on like what you guys see, if you guys get feedback from parents or students who do move on to high school. And just kind of, just want to pick your brains just a little bit about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, we worked really closely with the high school district and specifically most of our students go to Prospect. And so we work really closely with that administrative team, just really looking at what is that and having, if students or families have questions, because we want to propel students, but we also don't want to give the wrong information of accelerating and everything, because it impacts graduation rates and credits for high school. So we really have that partnership with the high school, and we reach out throughout the year. We have specific questions to support students.
and as well as families too, of the different pathways. And what is great is although we have one acceleration point in middle school, at this time, it used to be, it was one and done in middle school. And maybe 8 or 10 years ago, the high school district also has a point of acceleration now that they've included. And so that is something we communicate to families. You can get to calculus and be at grade level math. It is possible. And so really looking at those pathways the high school district has online has really been helpful too, to foster that communication. Because sometimes students mathematically maybe aren't ready or mature in middle school. And by the end of grade, they are ready. And so what do we do to help them? But we have worked as part of the Math Collaborative. I'm part of that as well. And so that has come up of what summer offerings within middle school are as they exit us. To help support that.
Got it. Thank you.
So this is the second year we're doing school-wide Avid. I think somebody asked earlier, do you find it harder? Honestly, I think on the other side is we find it easier. Because everything we implement, the kids already know what they're doing and we're gaining so much instructional time back that we're able to focus on those things. Some people think that Avid is a binder. I know it's very easy when we go, oh yeah, our binders are so great. That's just one aspect of what represents Avid at our school. Both of them have been talking about Avid things that we do, but they don't specifically call them Avid. Like there's so many things we do that Avid, but we don't go, oh, Avid focused note taking or Avid inquiry, right? Those are just things that we're doing. So some of these things that we were talking about last year, we really focused. It was our big first push on organization. So that was the big binder rollout, now the planner rollout, so that we can make sure that time management, that students are organized, know where everything is, so that teachers are able to get through things quickly. Kids come out, binders are straight up on their desks, and so they're already getting ready for the warm-up and things like that, instead of sitting there wondering, oh, should I pull out a pencil, should I pull out a roll, like all of those things are organized. The other thing is that we looked at was focused note taking last year, because of our big push, and it was our second year with, or our first year with full school-wide Avid. Focused note taking was not implemented to the fullest that we wanted to do, so we are revamping after looking and reflecting with our leadership team and the Avid summer people that we went to last year. And so really pushing that process, really pushing that deeper thinking, revisiting to store into long-term memory so that they're able to apply their learning. This year, we're continuing both organization and focus note taking, but also looking at collaborative classroom structures and implementing inquiry. We fully believe, and we say it all the time, the person that's doing the talking is doing the learning. And so this really helps in terms of collaborative structures. We're very intentional in our staff meetings to bring 2 or more collaborative structures for staff meetings, so we're modeling. We are tapping on all the shoulders of all of our amazing teachers who are already doing this amazing work and showing off to what it might look like in their classroom, and it could be different from science to, reading and writing, and what that collaborative structure might be changed to look at. Students are working in small groups, there's equal participation, and those are some of the structures that are listed that we have talked about in our. It really is, gaining the deeper understanding, the material by them explaining it to each other, being able to debate it and, talk about questions instead of just regurgitating what's on the piece of paper. The other thing we're looking at is inquiry. So really looking at those higher level open-ended questions, right? Again, not surface level regurgitating what they just took those on. Understanding what they're reading, kind of challenging what they're reading, even within all of the things that are being taught or like what they're being told. And it's guiding from teachers, not teachers going, okay, this is the right answer, it's this, but there are so many different answers. And using those as the driving for class discussions and projects just based on like student interest. Me. So wait, you have to go.
So this is the rebranding of our mascot. It all started with our web leaders and creating a t-shirt. And then Marty's kind of taken off. He's all over our campus now. And he's a soccer referee, jerseys, with them charm peace sign. So there's a lot of different versions of him, but we're continuing our PBIS
rebranding, as you noted, there's posters up all over campus, no matter what class you're in, the expectations are the same. So we get this amazing student climate data. The positive is we learn so much, the negative is we get it at the end of the year, right? So what do we do with it now? And so last year in ILT, we had the opportunity to shadow students and really see what the student experience is like, whether it was an EL student or an IEP student in gen ed classroom or just a general student. We also had the opportunity for ILT to create small groups of students and really ask them questions and dig in. And so thinking about that and taking this data, I'm like, we want to know more. How can we increase our points? Because we want to create increase by 5%, but how can we do it if we don't understand what it's doing? So if we were to just focus on this one, which is we want the school belonging to go up, right? And the question is how much do you feel that they are valued members in the school community? Well, what does value mean to them? And so I started hitting the streets, the quad, and asking students, like very informally, because we have this amazing opportunity at lunch to just touch base with kids in a very easygoing way and build connections. And when I asked students, I was kind of surprised at the range, just in a small little group of students, maybe I asked 20 today. And some of them said, well, I feel valued because I'm a book leader and I get to really support students at school. And one student said, I feel valued because you say the announcement in English and in Spanish, and I feel like my language is valued. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, that is a lot of different feelings based on one question. And it made me realize we need to dig deeper. And so one of the things, we're doing so many things to create belonging, because what we think of students, right? Creating connection with teachers and students, like what we know works well. So what we're doing is we just had suicide prevention education this week and See Something, Say Something, and sitting with our counselors and said, let's do a survey. Let's ask them, how many trusted adults do you have on campus? 0, 2, 3 to 4. Let's ask our students questions, not so many heavy questions that they're displaying, but 2 or 3 of the most poignant questions you think are going to give us the most impact. So that's the plan for us this year. How do we move forward when we need to talk to our students? Whether that's small groups that we're pulling and just digging deeper, randomly walking around, but then taking that information and being able to send out school-wide surveys. So just 1 to 2 questions, like I said. We asked these questions today through the suicide prevention and prevention training, and we're really excited to start to dig into that data because it's just going to make us understand the students more and how they're experiencing being valued or sense of belonging. And like I said, when I just took the plot, I got 20 different answers. So that in and of itself is really interesting data. And being able to disaggregate all that, I think is going to really help us understand what are we doing well and what are areas we want to allocate maybe more resources, more of our time to, because this is what our students really want or really makes them feel valued. So instead of us just dictating what we're going to do and push harder, we're going to start to gather a lot of data and then meet with the PBS team and start to really push in the directions that the students need to feel. Okay. The next slide was our feedback from the teacher climate data. One area we noticed we were lower was in feedback and coaching. And what we thought about as a team, since we're doing so much collaborative structures that we want to have in the classroom, every single staff meeting we're having, we're showing them a collaborative structure. They're getting into it themselves. They're speaking, they're talking, they're noticing the dynamic of it. It's all set in a slide for them, so there's the exact instructions, and then we keep dropping those into one specific PowerPoint, and then we're like, try it. So you did it with us, you saw how it felt, you saw the flow, and now take it into your classroom and try it out. I think so far this year, we've introduced 5 or 6. And they have access to the slide deck, so they can just try it out and see what's going on. I've been into classrooms, I've seen them, so it's super exciting, especially when it's like one that came from me, and I'm like, thank you. I love that one too. I'm a strong supporter of collaborative structures and engagement that creates 100% involved when you're speaking or you're listening. So that is definitely the vibe. So we're going to continue with coaching cycles with our staff, as well as just continue to model those collaborative structures so they can really feel it and experience it instead of just giving them something to try this out. So they're already getting to experience it, and then they can bring it right back into the classroom the next day. Okay. The next one is our family climate data. We were loving the fact that our parents are feeling really positive about us. One we want to focus on is that, how are families' perceptions of how well a school matches their child's developmental needs. One thing I would like to add is in comparison to our student data, where we had 7+ students respond, we didn't have this enormous amount of parents responding. So we do realize that we do not really necessarily have this overarching representation. And so that makes me think about how are we advertising this? Are we putting it in multiple languages? How are we hyping it up? How are we really continuing to partner with families so they understand how important their opinions and thoughts matter? So thinking about that, when we put out our staff and parent newsletter weekly, what are some maybe questions? We could just put out one question in Google Forms to parents, just to gauge how many people have been reading our parent newsletter, but what are your thoughts on this, where it's not heavy lift? Because when you fill out the perception survey, as a parent myself in Moreland, you're there for a while. There's a lot of questions, and they're great questions, but it is, if you're fully, locked in, it's gonna take you 5 to 10 minutes. So thinking just starting with 1 or 2 questions to just see what do parents want as far as parent education. Last year, we did a really popular parent education on technology, safety of technology. I did it, and we got so much positive feedback from parents. Parents just walked up to us saying, I went to that was great, we're using those tactics. So we're gonna offer it more times this year, because we noticed some parents stick. So what are some other parent education experiences? So just how can we continue to partner with parents and understand, increase their confidence as parents and understand what they're missing from us and how we create more connection. So some initiatives that we're discontinuing, ongoing and newly introduced. We've been really working hard to reduce chronic absenteeism, and I think we've done really a lot of successful things, but it feels like we were starting a little further into the school year, whereas this year we started analyzing the data of all the students we've already had, we know the patterns, how can we get way ahead of this? So a lot more parent communication, parent contact, figuring out what are the barriers. So that's been something we're started way earlier before the school year started. Ongoing, our web orientation was very successful. And now our web crew are doing more activities throughout the year to bring students together. They had their first meeting this Monday, and they really postcards to all of their web links, all the students that came in that they met and ran a team of 12 students. So it was really lovely. I mailed out tons of postcards to our 6th graders written by our 8th graders, inviting them to our Fun Fest Spirit family night. We have lots of leadership activities that are closely aligned to the school spirit. We are sending one of those Pride EHOG postcards. We just rebranded them, so it's something new. Those are mailed home to families monthly. Each set goes out 2. So we're sending out about 100 per month, which is really exciting. So basically every student should get one by the end of the year. We are continuing with our quarterly Pride celebrations. Those are really great. We ended up ordering a gorgeous arch, and that's going to be popped up at our Pride celebration. We have Mustang Pride Fridays. We're doing so much preventative education, continuing with that. We're seeing the impact. We're seeing the reduction in certain concerned areas. We also have structured intramural sports during lunchtime. So many varied lunch clubs. One of the newest ones we have, we're trying to bring more parents onto our campus, is a Bollywood dance club. Which we launched on Monday. It was amazing. Mother was so nervous and she did so amazing. We have our reflection room. It's been very successful. We use ripple effects. We use restorative practices. We continue to just update that and get the student feedback. A lot of student feedback really helped me to edit and update the slides this year. And just our continued partnerships and our increased points of contact with students and families to reduce chronic absenteeism. Truancy just help them get connected to resources. We have an amazing community liaison who has such a core, and we're also the core of that family. Parents are coming to this conversation. It's really nice. We're doing inspiring morning announcements in English and in Spanish. Estoy aprendiendo a hablar español y hablamos más con mis estudiantes y mi familia cada día. I'm learning to speak Spanish. I'm speaking more every day with my students and their families, and it's been really lovely. And some newly introduced things we're doing. which we want to bring our families in. We're doing that family fun fest. We're super excited. So many of the events are free at no cost. So it's really inclusive to everyone. We want parents to meet each other and connect. We find that this doesn't happen so much in middle school, because students really want their parents around. We're relaunching our MMS Wellness Center with a focus on being open every single day in the morning, open every single day at break, and open every single day at lunch. There's self-regulation strategies, healthy adaptive skills, connection with fellow Mustangs. Like I said, it's open. We're also implementing Character Strong. One thing that's really cool about this program is it has what's called Character Dares, and these are school-wide initiatives where you're just giving students a dare to do something, push themselves a little more to take what they're learning and adapt them into their real life. And it could be something as simple as asking a teacher something about, on wanting to learn more about your teacher, like tell me more about yourself, just creating that connection between students and adults and feeling closer to the people that are educating you, and having conversations that are outside of just academic. This is a person who I see as my teacher, but also someone who I trust. I just have been one to get to know better. So we're super excited about launching that. One thing we noticed about our counselors is that there's working maybe more with tier 2 and tier 3 students. And so we sat as a team at the end of the year and said, how can we take your counseling services and bring them into the tier 1? We talked about hosting table at lunch, like once a month. And so they're now looking at the Character Strong program, taking things from that and then hosting tables. And we have an enormous Mustang yellow covering. If you would see the sports team, but it really draws a lot of attention. And we have tables set up and we've seen a lot of students joining in. Just curious to connect more. We also have a role in behavior support team. Like I said, we have the Bollywood Dance Club at lunch. So just increasing that family partnership and promoting culture. And we branded our mascot Marty. And so if you are ever out on our campus, we're trying to give our students more autonomy, more independence. And so something as simple as us having intramural sports that are overseen by adults. But we do have students who play soccer who have ref licenses. And so you will see them out there with neon vests. It says they're a referee and they have a whistle. And it's just awesome to see it. I have some pictures of them. And also we have students taking pride more in our community. And we have like a campus cleanup crew, also in orange vests. And it's just a great way to say, like, I appreciate our community, I respect our community, and I want to keep it. And there's a lot of kids giving high fives, so that was really fun. And especially since we have one janitor to 807 students. So kind of walking and thinking his shoes has been really, kids enjoy that. And it's nice just seeing them feel more connected to the community. That's it.
Yeah. All right, and we are super excited to share 2 other data points with you. So our commissioners also made the LROC assessment. And when you look at the California dashboard, Portland Middle School is in the blue area for our student achievement around LPAC. And 66.4% of our students in progress, we increased by 3.7%. That is significant. It's huge. But then when you couple it with how our LP levels showed 95% of Portland Middle School English learners either maintained or progressed in their LP level. And then we were very, very proud last year at the end of the year to host our reclassification ceremony. And we reclassified 36 Mustangs as reclassified English learners. And that was a really, really emotional ceremony and quite an important accomplishment, especially for our 8th graders as a high school. It is huge. And then additionally, the work around chronic absenteeism is a heavy lift because unfortunately what happens is sometimes these behavior patterns are pretty entrenched with some children. And so when we're getting them where they've already struggled with school attendance and now they're also teenagers also exerting a lot of opinions maybe with family members, it can become that much more difficult. So we actually have reduced our chronic absenteeism rate from 18% down to 10.9%. It was a reduction of 17.1%. And we are now yellow, so we are, moving that barometer and we're super excited. I mean, we truly cut chronic absenteeism almost in half. And, we're not even the first month of the school, we're already having our absenteeism SST meetings. Because we've already identified is that we really need those systematic supports in place for their families. And some of these children are with us this year, and some are returning students. So we're really excited about the work. There's many lifters that are doing this work at Pearl Middle, and we're proud of our team, our team of students, staff, families. We're really working together to improve the outcomes for our Mustangs. So we're happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Start by thanking you and congratulating you on your efforts. The reclassification is a huge accomplishment, and all of this is really pointed in the right direction. And so I know that takes a lot of coordination and a lot of work, especially grades 6 through 8. And so I just want to thank you and acknowledge that. I also want to appreciate the honest look at the data everywhere, and a shift in how you've decided to identify your goals, in that they should be lofty, they should be a stretch, but they should also be attainable, right? And so I'm very excited to hear that you're confident about those numbers, and I'll look forward to seeing how that all works out. And lastly, I just want to highlight, kids can't learn if they're not in school. And so I know that can be a real challenge. I know it's a district focus to make sure our kiddos are showing up, they're on time and ready to learn. So I just want to applaud you for recognizing that as well. One last little point I didn't mention earlier at back to school night, I really appreciated seeing the Wellness Center and all of the brochures and all of the paperwork and the calendars and all of the support being so readily available and easy to access. And so I know too, that's been a real significant effort. And so I wanted to just applaud your efforts on that front too.
Thank you. Being a teenager is not easy.
It's not easy, and it's not easy right now. Right. And so asking them the questions, that's a very valid approach, because certainly the challenges I faced when I was that age were very different than what kiddos are facing today. And so I appreciate the close look and the willingness to listen.
And I think I'm not an educator, again, I keep saying that, but I was a professional student for 14 years. Going to school came down really to two parts to it, right? One is, you're made to go to school, and the second part is you want to be at school. I think those are the two things, and I'm really happy to see that both those numbers are trending in the right direction. Like, just physically being in school is one part of it, but kind of like being there, having a sense of belonging, being able to say that I'm part of this community is huge. So for me, at MMS, you also have the challenge of not only teenagers, but just 3 years. You have them just for 3 years. A lot needs to happen in that 3 years. So it is a very unique challenge for a purely middle school team. So I just want to applaud you guys for everybody here for the amount of progress that has been made since last year, but also recognizing that there is still more to be done.
Yeah, again, just piggyback off of what everyone said, just thank you all for, presenting all this took a lot of work, so thank you. And I was at back to school and at MMS, and I could already see a lot of the initiatives, that you guys have touched upon, the web leaders, the autonomy, going around leading everyone, the autonomy that they are showcasing, posters, and just really the pride everywhere. And then going to every classroom. I was like, yeah, we hit every single classroom, going to every single classroom and kept hearing all the teachers aligned on Avid, like, this is what you do with your binder. We are modeling how you write in the planners. Like, it was, I know that was not an easy task, and just the way that everyone is aligned. I just want to really applaud, and I think it highlights the amount of work that teachers and you guys have really put into that. And that just only helps to serve our students who from 6th grade to 8th grade. It's just that consistency will just only help them. So yeah, I just really think it's something to really applaud. Thank you guys so much for all the work you guys put into it. Yeah.
I think I'd say like you really had a turnaround story. You had a tough assignment. We added resources to come into that. And I really think you've directionally changed the course of students and student lives. And I think that's really cool. I think you should be really proud of that work. I think that the next, if I had a dream about the next kind of iteration of the students that we see coming out of Moreland, that they felt they were really, they rose to really high standards, and that they're more capable than they think they are. And that they were tasked to be more capable with higher expectations. That they're proud that they raised two. And I recognize that circumstances you rolled into were about things like as basic as safety, as basic as about being at school and feeling good about being at school, and you're creating culture. And I guess my hope, dream would be that the next generation of students, that standard is so high that they really are not just competent because they're capable of skills, but they felt that they were called up into kind of a new expectation of what they can do. And I think you're trying just very hard to create a school culture, and I'm appreciative of the work.
And I'll just add, not much more to add, but again, the teenagers, most difficult of times, middle school. What stands out to me is the implementation of the Avid. You're trying to change behavior, and that type of behavior, it's not set in the books, but just how they prepare themselves. And that preparation goes a long way, and how you've implemented it across the board really stood out to me. And how you, instead of like sort of in the passive sense, them learning, but then having them become an active learner and then actively speak, debate. You were talking about like structured debates and like being able to master what they are learning and then being able to reiterate it back. I feel that those are the right levers that you're pulling, that you see that needs to be done to make the needle move in the direction that you want it. And I do hope that you not only, with all the key interventions that you have, that not only that you achieve, but hopefully surpass your goal. And I can see that all the thought processes across the board that you guys are pulling all of those levers, and it's going to be, it sounds, lofty, but still attainable. And I really hope that if we see this next year as, we could have gone higher. But I'm really excited, very excited.
Did you want to come? I just wanted to say thank you to the team, the whole team that's here. We're just all in spirit, the MMS staff. They have been working really hard. And I think if there's one word that really resonates with me, it's the alignment across the staff. And that takes a lot of leadership and dedication from the teachers and the staff to say, okay, we're in it with you. We'll go there with you. That is not an easy task to pull off in a comprehensive middle school. And so I just want to say thank you to the team. I am proud of the work that you've done. We are seeing the results. Sometimes the results come in test scores, but sometimes it comes in chronic absenteeism rates and reclassification rates, and students who are in medical detectives class and financial literacy classes and talking about how excited they are about what they're learning. And so you can see what's happening, right? You can see it. And I know that those scores are going to come. I know it. So I'm just really proud of all of you. And I just want to say thank you.
Nicely done. We are very excited about the work you're doing. So thank you for your patience tonight.
So long. I told you guys it was long September, October.
So we actually need to take action.
You need to take action.
You need to take action. Yes.
Excellent job, and I just love this failure energy across the board and the smiles. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the Marlin Middle School 25-26 school plan for student achievement.
I'll make a motion to approve MMS's 25-26 school plan.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wishing-
Great job.
Exactly. Although I will say, the discontinued.
It's nice, huh?
It's weird, like, they're just still doing everything.
Hi.
Were you guys leaving the unaudited? That's the best part of the evening. I mean. Chris, what's going on, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just commenting to Clover how much I appreciate the discontinued. And
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure that some of them were discontinued, but I appreciate the effort and I appreciate the attention to that because I do see these, I agree, I see these long lists
Yeah.
of new and tweaked, and so I
It's
do
a question.
appreciate that effort.
It always comes down to a question of focus, right? Because it's like the more you keep adding to the plate.
You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yep.
So it's nice to know what worked, didn't work.
Chris is like, can we do this?
Okay, fine, go ahead.
It's like,
Right.
Or forget about Chris.
Never. All right, let's hear the unaudited actuals.
Right, the unaudited actual. So as you know, we started way back in June 24 with the budget throughout the year. We have the first interim, the second interim, always adjusting our expenditure and revenues. So our unaudited actuals is closing the books and kind of where we ended up. So general fund kind of overview, general fund summary review of unrestricted, restricted. We'll look at the components of the unrestricted ending fund balance, look at some revenue expenses, and the other fund reviews. All right. All right, so this is a general fund summary of both the unrestricted and restricted. So you see it's broken up into two columns with totals on the rates. Our unrestricted is made up of our general fund, supplemental parcel tax, lottery. And it really is unrestricted for the most part, gives us freedom to use that where we see fit. Then we have our restricted, which is more routine repair categoricals. We have some state funds like ELOP, UPK, lottery, Prop 28. And so those are truly restricted to the certain categories we can use. So looking kind of overall, I won't go through every single number. You can see some of the highlights though. You can see the net increase, decrease in our unrestricted. It's a deficit spending of about 4.2, which we knew about. It's actually gone down. We're at about 5.2 earlier in the year. So we're able to adjust and do some adjustments. Ending balance in our unrestricted of about 8.5. 13.6 in restricted. So total between the combination is about 22 pending fund balance. So this is of that 8.5 in the unrestricted. These are our components. Some small revolving fund prepaid expenditures, but our economic uncertainties, that's our 3%. So we'll meet that. We still have our enrollment decline mitigation of 2.2. As you know, our enrollment is still in decline. Last year, kind of steadied out a little bit. It was only 1 year, so we got to kind of keep an eye on it. Undesignated ending fund balance is about 3. This year, I wanted to.
What are the two columns? What are the two columns here?
We have unrestricted and restricted.
Right, okay, because the title said unrestricted, so I was assuming that this is, never mind.
Well, okay, so go back a slide. Yeah, this one, so restricted ending fund is the 13.6. So
Okay.
you don't break that up, kind of stays there.
Okay.
And then we broke up the components of them.
Okay.
You'll see the slide again, it repeats just because I talk about the unrestricted.
Got it, okay, thank you.
All right. So here it's kind of, this is just kind of seeing where we were, we did our estimated actuals to where when we actually closed the book, you kind of see how close we did. The far column, the percent difference is where we were as far as adjustments. You can look at our LCFF sources, federal revenue, we don't have any in the unrestricted category. Other states dropped a little bit from what we anticipated, but our local revenues went up a little bit. The interest came in a little bit higher. Lease revenues.
Is that interesting that the county is in essence crediting us? They changed their crediting rate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It changed from what we anticipated.
Yeah. So it'll go down next year. I mean, just.
Yeah. You can see our total revenues were up about 1.74% from our estimated to what we actually ended up. So here's kind of a breakdown of our expenditures. You kind of see where we were. We were pretty close in all categories as far as our estimated and unaudited. All the salaries, classified came in a little bit higher. Employee benefits slightly lower, which was good. 20%, it's a pretty small number. That was just count out there was our 6,000. So we had to buy like an extra freezer, so went up a little bit. So, but you can see the bottom, we were able to reduce our expenditures from when we estimated our actuals. We reduced it from 850,000 down to 350. So that's in our favor as overall expenditures. And look at our other financing sources. Again, we're pretty close from our estimated to our unaudited. We were ending balance. You can see that's a positive 328. So that's a good thing. So we're able to maximize our expenses and kind of some of our restricted funds, our grants. We're able to kind of transfer different expenditures to maximize our unrestricted fund. Okay. Again, this is a similar one, just kind of ending. The only thing that changed was our economic uncertainties went down a little bit. So that's based on 3% of our expenditures. So our expenditures were a little bit lower. So we're able to lower that rate. Everything else pretty much stayed the same, but you can see
Just to be clear, if you lower that rate, that just means we keep more in the general fund balance.
We lower, say,
the amount of our mandatory, like our.
Yeah, it's the economic uncertainties is 3% of whatever your expenditures are.
My point is, we don't actually lose the money. You're transferring.
You don't lose it, yes.
Transferring it from the right hand to the left hand. You're saying, I don't have to keep it in that designated restricted fund anymore.
Exactly.
I can keep it in my.
Freeze it up a little bit to less.
That my point is for board members, like this is the good news about that is you're moving it to the hand that you can use.
Yeah. Gives it more freedom. So we did from our estimated actuals to the unaudited, we did see an increase of 358,000, which is good because it helps with the overall deficit spending as well. So these are just some graphs to go through quickly, kind of general fund. These are unrestricted and restricted, where we get our money from, LCFF resources, federal, states, and local. The next one is expenses by category. You can see we have certificate, classified benefits make up kind of our people, which we are a profession of people. So that's close to about 80%. And then the other, and again, this is our unrestricted, restricted. This is now just the unrestricted. So where we get our sources, our revenue is from. So notice like federal revenue, we don't get any restricted. So it's just another graph to see where our money's coming from.
Has it always been the case, or is it?
Yeah,
it's always right.
Yeah.
Since I've been in this job.
The federal government wants to always have restrictions on the money they give you.
Yeah.
So it's always categorical.
Categorical spending.
It doesn't mean they didn't give us any money. It just means they didn't give us any free money.
Yeah.
Unrestricted general fund, again, expenses by category. So again, most of the steps are people. Give us supplies, service. And then we have the next one is by function. So we have our instruction related services, and pupil services. That is kind of overall support for students. That includes our, like I saw, psychologists, nurses, transportation. You can see a bulk of our money is spent on obviously students. The rest is kind of the general administration and services. So go to our other funds. Those are just our ending fund balances. We're positive in all of those funds. It's a good thing. So you can take a look. Any questions? I'd like to answer. I think you want me to read
The
everything.
columns are just unrestricted and restricted? Or these are all restricted?
Oh, sorry. So the columns are all one. So the fund,
Because these are all
so
restricted.
Fund 13. So if you notice Fund 13, that's your overall amount. And then I broke it down into the school lunch program.
Oh, okay.
Subcategories, gotcha.
But yes, subcategories.
Thanks.
Sorry, I adjusted my presentation.
Late in the game.
That's-
I don't know why. We'll just move on.
You thought of it.
Superintendent might have seen a presentation at another school district superintendent. I was looking over her shoulder and then I came back and said, I want that.
So it would have been nice if we gave you 2 weeks.
I had. Whoa.
Theoretically.
It's not a blue card where you have 3 minutes. You got plenty of time. So when we talk about on the previous slide, when we talk about the ending fund balances for this,
Yes,
like, let's just take an example, building fund, it's that the ending fund balance, that's earmarked for spending next year.
it's our ending fund balance moving forward, not necessarily earmarked.
Okay,
That one is because that's our bond fund.
These are bonds that we actually, these are bonds.
Maybe the bond funds, but
maybe that was a bad,
we-
that
these are
example.
the balances we have.
Okay,
So like, Fund 40 is our sales side. So we used that this year for the Lattimore playgrounds because we needed to get a jump on it, but for the most part, that sits there, that's.
okay,
We want it to sit there, that's kind of our
Yep.
sort of enterprise is our leases and extended care, kind of what's left. So that's what we're starting the year with.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward.
Chris, the bond though, these are bonds that we issued. These are, right,
Yes,
yeah,
this isn't confused with what we have left on the bonds.
no, this is what we currently have
Issued.
issued
In cash.
in our bank account.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have not issued the third phase yet.
correct. This is money in the bank.
Yeah, that we're paying our bondholders interest on and receiving less interest from the county on right now. This is like a funny little, but my point is like, this isn't all the bond money. This
Yes.
is just what we issued.
Currently,
for these ones.
exactly. All right, so the road ahead, so we have the audit, which actually is this week, so we're in the midst of the audit, so. We asked us to go early, so we did, so we're process doing that. In December, you'll hear the first interim, so we'll adjust our budget from 25-26. We'll hear the governor's budget in January, do our second interim, May revise, and then we'll, before you know it, be in June and doing
Have you ever thought about doing this as a circle and not as a?
And the road, and it just comes back.
Just a rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat, exactly.
Needs a U-turn.
I mean, I would have given you that feedback 2 weeks ago if I'd seen it. If I'd seen it 2 weeks ago. You would have said circle.
You can stop making fun of me.
No, not a chance.
So what the heck is the years change? Yeah. Go back in time.
Yeah,
You're
you're
telling
right.
me you never reused a slide.
Well.
Think of Evangeline on that, by the way.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna have the road just be auto-sustainable. More like a ball of yarn.
But we never have, we really, at this point, these are unaudited. We've really never meaningfully had a difference between our unaudited actuals and our actuals that we get from the audit, right?
No, when they audit it, no.
Yeah, it's always.
This is the end of this calendar year.
This should be the end of the 24-25.
School year.
They'll come in and do the audit report in January.
Right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I mean, it's impressive in a relatively short period of time. You have really grown into that. Thank you.
It's fun. I mean, I think Efrain has done a great job. He's took a little vacation. Or poor timing.
And then he came back and I said, can you change your minutes? It's great. I thought it was done. He was on his way out. Here he is. And then he came back. Oh.
I think it is though. Thank you. I mean, you've gotten tremendous command of this in a relatively short period of time.
Which is no small feat.
Agreed.
Sure. So this is not an action item.
It is. It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the
Yeah,
Oh.
you just everybody believes.
place. Okay, so you'd like us to approve?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 unaudited actuals finance reports.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think we're getting a little punchy the later it gets. 7B, the GAN limit.
It's me. So this is our annual GAN limits, which is, basically back in 1979. Details, but it's allowable growth in government spending, and so the GAN limit is allowing spending to grow at a rate faster than inflation. and growth of the population. So, we recommend that you approve this resolution number 1, GAN limits for the actual 24-25 and projected 6.
Questions? Comments?
I have many, but none that will be useful in this conversation.
Yeah.
So
Okay, do I have any?
I'll do a motion to approve the legally required GAN limits that I have no other choice but to approve.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
Fair.
And I will second that.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Onto the consent. Any questions or comments on tonight's consent? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve in aggregate?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items in aggregate.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Closing items, future meeting dates?
I don't know yet, but due to unexpected situation, I may have to miss one in October. I'll
Okay.
keep you posted. I'll
Okay.
give everybody plenty of heads up.
Thank you for that. Anything else?
I previously said that I wouldn't be able to make the 14th meeting. I'm trying to fly back for that. I may be able to make that, but I won't know until the travel day.
Okay. Thank you for the heads up. Anything else on future meeting dates?
No.
Announcements, reminders, requests? I think we're done.
I think we're tired.
We are adjourned.
8:15.